Hi everyone. Tonight, we step back into the severe and unforgiving winters faced by medieval peasants, a time when making it through the cold was never assured. We'll explore how these determined communities built shelters using only what nature provided, and how their ingenuity influenced daily life in a world far removed from our own. Honestly, you likely wouldn't last long under these conditions. Their winters were harsh beyond comparison, but by the end of this journey, you may find yourself more grateful for the warmth and comfort of your own bed. Before settling in, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, only if you truly enjoy the content here. Where are you listening from, and what time is it there? Late enough for a quiet historical bedtime story, perhaps? Now, lower the lights and let's move into the past. You find yourself standing at the edge of a field coated in frost. The earth beneath you is solid and unyielding, as though nature itself is emphasizing the cold that has already taken hold. Snow drifts slowly from above, sharply contrasting with the fierce winds tearing through the trees, slicing across the land like frozen blades. Winter is just beginning, and the peasants around you are already preparing for the long and punishing months ahead. As tempting as it might be to escape into the comfort of a modern home, you're firmly placed in a world where survival is uncertain. The cold shows no mercy, and for medieval peasants, enduring winter was a struggle that started well before the first snowfall. You observe villagers moving quickly, collecting firewood, fixing their homes, and reinforcing what little protection they have against the approaching freeze. Their actions appear urgent, yet deliberate, shaped by necessity and traditions refined over centuries. You notice how carefully they gather stone and timber, how thoughtfully each bundle of thatch is placed on a roof, and how they pause occasionally to feel the wind and judge its force. Soon, frost will settle into everything around you, and every breath will be visible in the air. This is survival medieval style. For these peasants, winter is more than a season, it is a test of endurance. Their modest homes, simple as they appear, will decide whether they live through the cold or not. These structures must provide not just shelter, but warmth, protection, and a small sense of comfort in a relentless environment. You're about to step fully into their world, where every choice carries serious consequences. Welcome to the depth of winter, where building shelter becomes a matter of life and death. It is a hard life. You likely wouldn't survive it, but you can learn a great deal from how these resourceful people managed to do so. The methods they developed over generations were more than basic survival skills. They were expressions of human resilience against overwhelming conditions. So, as you stand in the snow amid constant activity, pause for a moment and take in your surroundings. Every house, tool, and person you see has been shaped with one clear purpose: surviving the winter. Once again, before getting too comfortable, consider liking the video and subscribing, only if you truly appreciate the content. Where are you listening from? What time is it where you are? It's late here, and the quiet is beginning to settle, much like it soon will for the peasants around you. Now, dim the lights, and let's begin this journey through time. The story of winter survival starts with preparation, the process of turning nature's hostility into something that can be managed. As peasants spread out to gather materials, it's difficult to imagine that such a cold and unforgiving environment can also provide the resources needed to stay alive. Preparations begin long before snow ever touches the ground. Relying solely on a fire or a heavy blanket is not enough. In this world, a proper shelter must act as a barrier against the cold, built with careful thought, steady hands, and materials taken directly from the land. You now stand in the center of a small village, surrounded by peasants moving with urgency. They know winter is close, and once it arrives, it will show no mercy. This is why the groundwork for survival is already underway. Every task they perform comes from an intimate knowledge of the land and its seasons, wisdom handed down through generations. One of the first things that stands out is the simplicity of their homes. These cottages or huts are not impressive to look at, but they are constructed with respect for their environment. What may seem like a random mix of logs and straw is actually a carefully designed structure meant to retain heat and block out the worst of the elements. The homes are built using materials that are easy to obtain, and the work is shared by the entire community. Everyone contributes, whether by collecting supplies, building, or offering skilled knowledge. Wood is the most essential resource. The nearby forests are both a vital supply and a responsibility. The peasants are familiar with every tree and branch suitable for construction. You watch them cut smaller trees with care, choosing wisely to ensure the forest remains healthy while still meeting their needs. The logs are cut into workable sections and dragged back to the village, where they form the framework of the homes. These logs are typically placed horizontally and stacked in a crossing pattern to create a sturdy base. Gaps between the wood are filled with mud, moss, or clay to block drafts and prevent cold air from entering. Historians still debate whether mud or clay was more commonly used in different regions, but what's undeniable is the peasants' ability to use whatever was available. Mud, though basic, serves as an effective insulator. Its natural ability to retain heat helps keep the interior of the home as warm as possible during freezing nights. Over time, these walls harden, forming a strong barrier against icy winds. In areas where clay was plentiful, some houses were built almost entirely from it, allowing the interior temperature to remain relatively stable regardless of the weather outside. The roof, however, is arguably the most critical element of the peasant home. With snow building up quickly in winter, the roof must be steep enough to prevent collapse under the weight. But the slope alone is not enough. The materials matter just as much. Thatched roofs made from straw, reeds, or heather were common. While simple to assemble, these roofs demanded careful construction to ensure they provided reliable protection throughout the winter months. The thatch was arranged in overlapping layers, forming a water-resistant covering that allowed rain and snow to slide away easily. As time passed, the weight of the thatch compressed the layers, improving its ability to block out the cold. In many villages, the roof served as the primary shield against severe winter weather, and the methods used to build it were carefully taught from elders to apprentices over generations. However, these shelters relied on more than just construction materials. Their position within the surrounding landscape also played a critical role in ensuring peasant survival. A house was never placed randomly. Every detail mattered. The direction the building faced was carefully planned to capture as much sunlight as possible during the day. Even weak sunlight was extremely valuable. Homes were oriented to receive whatever daylight was available, allowing the interior to warm slightly during the short winter days. Many houses were also built on slightly elevated ground to avoid moisture that settled across the land in winter. This practical approach helped keep interiors dry and prevented cold from seeping upward through the soil. Inside these homes, the most important element of survival becomes clear. At the center was the hearth, often nothing more than a fire pit set into the floor, where most of the heat was produced. Unlike a modern fireplace, this was an open flame that provided both warmth and light for everyone gathered nearby. Heat from the fire slowly warmed the stone and clay walls and, to some extent, the air within the home. The steady sound of burning wood and the warmth it produced offered comfort during harsh months. For peasant families, the hearth was essential to surviving winter, remaining active throughout the season. However, this warmth came with responsibility. The fire was shared by everyone in the household, whether a small family or a larger group living together. It had to be carefully maintained so it would not go out. Ashes needed frequent removal, and fresh firewood had to be brought in constantly. On especially cold nights, someone might need to tend the fire every few hours to keep the heat steady. The peasants worked together, cutting, carrying, and stacking wood, to ensure the fire never failed. This shared labor strengthened community bonds and reinforced mutual dependence. Historians continue to discuss how communal firewood collection developed across medieval Europe. Some suggest that in certain villages, firewood was treated as a shared resource, while in others it was the responsibility of the household head to secure enough fuel for winter. Regardless of these differences, one fact remains clear: fire and firewood were essential for survival. As snowfall increased, peasant families continued their preparations, aware that they would soon withdraw indoors for the season, trusting these modest shelters to protect them from the cold. The air carried quiet conversations and the steady rhythm of chopping wood. This routine was familiar. Each year brought the same cold conditions and long, dark nights. Still, there was reassurance in knowing that these hand-built homes, shaped by necessity, would endure harsh weather. The peasants understood this through experience. They had survived many winters and expected to survive many more. With every log stacked and each layer of straw added to the roof, they moved closer to the security they needed. Outside, icy winds might roar and snow might gather in deep drifts, but inside these homes, families would find warmth. They would sit near the hearth, wrap themselves in thick wool blankets, and wait patiently for winter to pass. As you stand there, you begin to feel the cold settling in, yet the shelter you have entered provides enough protection for now. You pause, breathing in the warmth of the fire and the quiet confidence that comes with survival. Medieval peasant homes, though simple in appearance, were carefully designed to endure extreme conditions. When the first frosts arrived, those living in these structures acted quickly. You can see how villagers moved efficiently to gather what they needed. They understood that winter was approaching and their homes had to be prepared. Beyond logs, straw, and mud, the way these materials were chosen reveals the close relationship between peasants and the natural environment. Walking into the forest with them, you notice how carefully they examine the trees. Timber was cut with purpose. Rather than clearing randomly, peasants selected trees known for strength, suitable for supporting their homes. Younger or weakened trees were often chosen, helping preserve the forest for the future. This careful balance between survival and conservation had been refined over centuries. The gathering process involved more than just wood. Peasants also collected branches, moss, and stones. These basic materials formed walls, insulation, and floors. Stones, in particular, served more than a structural role. They allowed moisture to drain away, helping prevent interiors from becoming damp and unbearably cold once frost arrived. One especially notable practice was the use of moss. In many regions, moss was gathered from the forest floor and placed between wooden beams as insulation. Though easily overlooked, moss naturally trapped air and moisture, creating an effective barrier against cold air. Layered between logs, it reduced drafts and heat loss. This thoughtful use of natural resources reflects the practical creativity of people who depended on the forest for survival. Examining the walls more closely, you see the importance of mud and clay. Medieval homes were not crude or carelessly built. Peasants took great care in sealing gaps between logs. The mud used was mixed with straw, which strengthened the mixture and added flexibility. Once dry, the mud hardened, while the straw prevented it from cracking as temperatures changed. In this way, the peasants created structures that adapted to seasonal shifts. These homes were not static shelters, but living constructions designed to endure year after year. There is still ongoing debate among historians about how consistently straw was used in mud mixtures across medieval Europe. Some scholars suggest that in colder northern regions, where winters were more severe, builders likely added extra straw to improve insulation. Others argue that the mixture depended less on geography and more on what materials were locally available. Although this discussion may seem minor, it highlights the wide range of building methods medieval communities used to protect themselves from the cold. It is remarkable that something as ordinary as straw, often overlooked today, played such an important role in helping these people survive. Inside the home, the hearth serves as the true center of peasant life. The fire pit is a defining feature of the interior, and its location is never chosen by chance. When constructing a house, peasants deliberately place the hearth at the center, both physically and symbolically. A properly positioned fire provides warmth and helps keep the indoor air dry, lowering the risk of illnesses caused by damp conditions. Smoke, however, presents a challenge. Without chimneys, smoke tends to drift and settle inside the house, especially during the long, calm nights of winter. This creates a strong, sharp smell that clings to everything. Over time, the interior becomes saturated with the scent of burning wood, a smell that residents gradually associate with warmth and safety. For them, it becomes the smell of endurance and survival. Historians have long questioned whether constant exposure to indoor smoke posed serious health risks. Some believe prolonged inhalation of wood smoke may have caused respiratory issues, while others argue that the warm, dry environment helped protect against the dangers of winter dampness, which could have led to even more severe illnesses. There is no clear agreement on this issue, but one fact remains certain: The fire was essential not only for warmth but also for the social life of the household. It brought people together as a place to cook, eat, talk, and sleep in relative comfort. During the winter months, the fire was the lifeline of daily life. One unexpected advantage of living in such close quarters, surrounded by heat and smoke, was the strong sense of togetherness it encouraged. Sharing the fire, enduring the cold, and relying on one another helped create deep communal bonds. Peasants did not live in isolation. They belonged to wider networks of families who worked collectively to survive the hardest months of the year. Winter cooperation was not just a practical requirement, it was also a social necessity. In many cases, families opened their homes to others during extreme cold, offering shelter to those with fewer resources. These relationships, strengthened by shared hardship, were just as vital as any physical feature of the house. Observing the village working together, it is difficult not to respect the creativity and determination of these people. Their homes may be small, but they are efficient and carefully designed with a strong understanding of the surrounding environment. Every beam of wood, every layer of mud, and every carefully placed stone serves a purpose beyond simple construction. Each element contributes to survival. There is a quiet craftsmanship in these structures that often goes unnoticed when we focus only on medieval castles and cathedrals. Yet this everyday artistry is no less significant. As snow continues to fall, it becomes impossible not to admire the resilience of these peasants. Despite limited resources, they built homes capable of enduring the harshest winters. Their ingenuity, their shared effort, and their close relationship with the land sustained them year after year. They did more than endure the cold, they learned how to live within it. When you sit comfortably in modern warmth, surrounded by conveniences, you may think of these medieval homes and the people who built them. In a world that often feels distant and impersonal, it is reassuring to remember that survival has always depended on community, creativity, and simple natural materials. It is easy to forget how much effort was once required just to survive winter. Modern heating, insulation, and comfortable interiors have softened our experience of the cold. Standing in this medieval village, however, you begin to understand how brutal winter truly was for peasants. The wind cuts sharply across your skin, and a shiver runs through you. This is not a modern winter with a warm house waiting nearby. This is a reality where preparation meant survival. These people organized their homes and lives around one unavoidable certainty: winter would arrive, and they had to be ready. There is a quiet resolve in the way the peasants work. Each piece of wood they cut and every stone they place represents progress. They know that even a small gap in a wall or a minor weakness in the roof could allow cold air inside and determine whether a family survives. Every detail matters, including how the thatch is carefully layered on the roof. Layer by layer, it forms a dense barrier designed to resist even the heaviest snowfall. This process is slow and demanding, but it has been refined through generations of experience. The thatch itself is made from materials that might appear ordinary today: reeds, straw, or rushes. For peasants, however, these materials were valuable resources gathered specifically for their insulating qualities. When arranged correctly, they trap air and slow heat loss, creating surprising warmth within such simple structures. Roofs are built with gentle slopes so snow can slide off naturally. The real skill lies in how the layers interlock, forming a tightly woven surface that blocks both snow and wind. To improve water resistance, peasants carefully select and layer materials to create a protective outer shell. In addition, animal fat, often from pigs, is applied to the roof to repel moisture. While this may seem unusual by modern standards, it makes sense when weather conditions can change suddenly. Interestingly, animal fat is not limited to roof treatment. Many peasants also use it to seal walls, adding another barrier against cold air. This practical solution helps ensure warmth stays inside. The roof is only part of the equation. The walls, constructed from timber, stone, and mud, play an equally important role in resisting winter cold. Their effectiveness comes from their insulating properties. Mud, in particular, retains heat exceptionally well. When mixed with straw and applied to walls, it forms a thick layer that blocks cold air. As temperatures drop outside, heat from the indoor fires slowly spreads through the walls, keeping the interior slightly warmer. These few degrees can mean the difference between life and death. Insulation is not about comfort alone. It is essential for survival. And then there is the floor. The ground itself is naturally cold. While peasants put considerable effort into insulating the walls and roof, they also take deliberate measures to stop the cold from rising up through the floor. Like the walls, the floor is usually made from a mix of stone and clay, forming a firm surface that resists moisture. In many homes, peasants spread rushes or straw across the floor, adding an extra layer of warmth and comfort. This method is simple, yet it works well to reduce the cold coming up from the ground and into the living space. In areas with especially severe winters, animal skins were sometimes laid over the floor, creating a warmer surface to walk on during the long winter months. Historians continue to debate how much flooring choices differed from one region to another. Some researchers argue that in colder northern regions, peasants likely used thicker layers of straw or more animal hides to increase insulation. Others believe that basic flooring methods were largely consistent across medieval Europe, with differences mainly reflecting the materials available locally. Regardless of these details, the objective remained the same: to keep the home warm and dry. Since the ground was often the coldest part of the house, it required special care. Whether covered with straw, hides, or clay, peasants understood that insulating the floor mattered just as much as protecting the walls and roof. Inside the home, the hearth is clearly the central feature. It is the source of heat, the main source of light during dark winter days, and the place where peasants gather to cook, sleep, and talk. Its role goes beyond providing warmth. The hearth serves as a social center for the household, a place where families come together and find comfort during an unforgiving season. Around the fire, meals are prepared, clothes are dried, and on the coldest nights, people sleep nearby. Heat spreads outward from the hearth. While it does not fully warm the entire house, it creates small zones of warmth that can be essential for survival. It is far from a perfect solution, but it represents the best option available to peasants at the time. Sitting near the fire, one of the first things you notice is the smell of burning wood. It is a reassuring, though slightly sharp, scent that fills the room and blends with the odors of animal fat and straw. This smell signals that the fire is still burning, that warmth remains, and that for the moment, there is safety. Along with the smoke, there is also a faint earthy smell from the walls made of mud, straw, and clay. These homes, despite their simplicity, carry the scent of the land itself. In many ways, they are an extension of the surrounding environment. The materials used for the walls, roof, and floor all come from nearby land, creating a direct link between the home and the world outside. As the night becomes colder, the fire flickers and crackles, throwing moving shadows across the walls. Outside, the wind grows stronger, rushing through the trees. Even within the shelter, you can sense its chill. It serves as a reminder that the elements are always close and always threatening. Yet for now, there is safety. The fire continues to burn, the walls remain solid, and life in the village goes on. The peasants have prepared as thoroughly as they can. At this point, all that remains is to wait. Winter will arrive, and they will face it together. Sitting by the hearth, feeling the warmth slowly sink in, it becomes clear that survival depends on more than just the structure of the house. It also depends on the people inside it. Warmth, shelter, and safety are the result of shared effort and collective responsibility. During the harsh winter months, it is the sense of community that sustains everyone. The fire provides heat, but it is the bonds between villagers that truly help keep the cold at bay. The days feel long and unending. As winter fully sets in, the wind outside howls constantly, reminding everyone of the cold and unforgiving world beyond the walls. Inside the home, however, a different atmosphere takes shape. You hear the steady crackle of the fire, quiet conversations, and the occasional creak of wooden beams settling in the cold. Life slows here, and time follows a different pace. Despite the discomforts, there is a certain calm to this rhythm. Peasants know that winter is not only about enduring cold temperatures. The lack of sunlight during these months affects everyone. They have experienced it before, the slow passage of time and the long nights that seem endless. The hearth remains the heart of daily life, providing warmth and a place to gather. It is also where routines change. People eat, talk, work, and sleep close to the fire, rarely moving far from its heat. For many, the hearth becomes a refuge, offering temporary relief from the cold waiting just outside the door. As days shorten and nights grow colder, daily life becomes noticeably more demanding. Keeping the fire alive requires constant effort. Firewood must be cut, carried inside, and carefully managed. Ashes need to be removed regularly so the fire does not go out. Food is another ongoing concern. Peasants are not simply resting by the fire. They are working continuously to make sure there is enough to eat. While the autumn harvest may have been successful, winter slowly drains their supplies. Over generations, they have learned the value of careful storage. Reserves of grain, root vegetables, and preserved meat are all that stand between survival and hunger. One of the most notable features of medieval winter life is how fully peasants use every resource available to them. Waste is not an option. Everything is reused, adapted, or saved. Firewood is carefully measured, and each piece is cut to get the most heat possible. Any wood that cannot be burned is repurposed for tools, furniture, or saved for future use. The same careful approach applies to food. Every part of an animal is utilized. Bones are turned into broth. Skins are made into clothing, blankets, and even floor coverings. Peasants rely on this deep sense of resourcefulness to endure the winter. This careful use of resources, driven by necessity, also reflects a strong connection to the land. Peasants understand that nothing is truly disposable. Every material has value and purpose. Living off the land is not only practical but also meaningful. The land is more than a source of survival, it is a partner in it. Peasants see themselves as part of a larger system that depends on respect, balance, and careful use of what nature provides. It becomes clear that while the hearth supplies essential warmth, it also offers the greatest comfort during long winter nights. The fire's appeal is not limited to its heat. It is also the sense of togetherness it creates. The glow of the hearth brings people close, reinforcing the shared experience that helps them endure the season. The fire is a central place where people gather, where stories are exchanged, and where the outside world can briefly fade away. In the moving shadows of the flames, peasants are able to laugh, grieve, and think quietly. The severity of winter feels less crushing when everyone is brought together by the warmth of the hearth. In many ways, the fire serves as a lifeline, not only for physical warmth, but for emotional endurance as well. Notably, this shared gathering around the hearth is more than a simple social habit. Historians continue to examine the psychological value of these moments. Many suggest that sitting together around a common fire helped create a sense of security and belonging, something essential in a world constantly threatened by hunger, illness, and death. The communal role of the hearth may have been one of the most important factors helping medieval peasants withstand the mental strain of winter. Without these shared experiences, the isolation and anxiety caused by the cold could easily become unbearable. Yet while the hearth offers comfort to both body and mind, the world beyond the door remains unforgiving. The wind howls without pause, and snow grows deeper with every passing day. Peasants understand that winter's true challenge is not simply staying warm, but staying alive. Cold does not only seep into the bones, it slowly invades every part of daily life. As winter stretches on, maintaining even a sense of routine becomes increasingly difficult. Gathering firewood turns into a demanding task. Keeping the hearth burning grows more exhausting, and the pressure of managing scarce supplies weighs heavily on the entire household. Despite these hardships, the peasants continue forward. Work does not stop just because winter has arrived. Even on the coldest days, peasants can be seen in the fields cutting wood, hunting animals, or caring for livestock. Some of the most determined even travel to markets to replenish supplies, despite the dangers involved. Roads become slick with ice, frostbite threatens at every step, and the freezing air bites with each breath. Still, they push onward, knowing that survival depends on constant effort. Their lives are shaped by this ongoing struggle, this steady determination to stay ahead of the cold. There is little time for rest and no room for complacency. Here is an unexpected detail. During the long frozen months, peasants sometimes build temporary shelters in forests or open fields. These makeshift structures act as emergency refuges when food or firewood is scarce. Often constructed from branches and covered with packed snow, these shelters are simple, but they can offer just enough protection to keep someone alive for a short period. Life is harsh, but these solutions reveal the creativity and resilience of the people. This world is far removed from the comfort and convenience of modern life, yet it holds its own form of beauty. The way peasants adapt to the cold, use every available resource, and unite during hardship stands as a clear example of human endurance. As winter winds rage outside and the fire crackles within, it becomes clear that survival is not only about walls and roofs. It is about community, about finding warmth not only from fire, but from one another. The frost remains relentless as you sit near the hearth, the steady warmth pulling you deeper into the atmosphere of a medieval winter. Outside lies a bleak landscape, buried beneath snowdrifts and battered by fierce winds. Inside this modest home, however, a quiet rhythm of life continues despite the cold. In the shifting light of the flames, small details become noticeable: the worn wooden beams supporting the structure, the carefully arranged stones forming the foundation, and the simple furnishings that offer limited but meaningful comfort. It becomes clear that these homes are built around constant adjustment. Nothing remains unchanged. Each year, improvements are made, sometimes out of necessity, sometimes through ingenuity. Survival, it seems, depends as much on adaptation as on endurance. With every season, peasants learn more about how to withstand the cold. Roofs are repaired, walls reinforced, and old wood replaced. Nothing is ever truly complete, because winter's challenge never fully ends. One noticeable feature of these homes is how carefully space is used. Despite cramped conditions and low temperatures, peasants make the most of every available area. The house is more than shelter. It serves as a place for cooking, repairing clothes, and even housing animals to conserve heat. The central hearth provides warmth for cooking and heating water, but it also functions as a shared gathering place. Family members, neighbors, and occasional travelers gather there for warmth, companionship, and shared stories. It is an open space shaped entirely by necessity. Within this shared environment, each person still has a small place of their own. Children sleep in corners near the hearth, wrapped in thick wool blankets. Adults sleep close together as well, often sharing beds to preserve warmth. In some cases, entire families sleep under piles of blankets, pressed together against the cold. Privacy, as we understand it today, does not exist here, but the closeness itself provides comfort. Human warmth helps keep the cold at bay in more ways than one. Food is also managed collectively. Meals are simple and often sparse, stews made from available vegetables and meat, bread, and whatever else can be gathered. Peasants are skilled at stretching limited supplies. Meat is salted and preserved, root vegetables stored in cellars, and grain carefully rationed to last through the winter. Bread is baked only when necessary, always with attention to dwindling reserves. The scent of cooking food mixes with the smell of burning wood, creating a surprisingly comforting atmosphere despite ongoing scarcity. Everyone contributes to meal preparation. Even children are taught early how to collect water, gather kindling, and assist with small tasks. Sitting in the firelight, one thing becomes clear: survival in these homes relies on careful layering. Winter preparation is not only about shelter or food, but about creating a system that supports life on multiple levels. Cooperation, adaptability, and resourcefulness form the foundation of this system. Every element plays a role, from where the house is built, to how firewood is gathered, to how food is stored and divided. The peasants live in a fragile balance, constantly adjusting to ensure everything works together. It is also worth noting how building materials influence warmth. Wooden beams and mud walls are not merely structural. They help regulate temperature by trapping heat inside, turning simple materials into essential tools for survival. Over time, the heat from the hearth gradually spreads into the walls and wooden beams, making the interior of the house noticeably warmer and more livable. The overall design is both practical and thoughtful, with every element working together to keep the temperature as steady as possible. Materials that may appear basic to us, wood, mud, and straw, are actually chosen and arranged specifically for their insulating qualities. The peasants possess a close understanding of their surroundings and know how to use available resources effectively. It may come as a surprise, but historians have long discussed how much medieval peasants truly understood about these natural systems. Some believe they had an intuitive grasp of insulation and heat control, knowledge passed down through generations. Others suggest that much of this understanding developed through trial and error, with peasants adjusting their methods based on what proved successful over time. Most likely, both explanations are valid. What is certain is that these communities knew exactly what was required to survive winter, and they did so with notable efficiency. One of the most striking features of these homes is how closely they align with seasonal cycles, the shifting temperatures and the changing length of daylight. These factors strongly shape daily life inside the house. During the harshest winter months, families gather closely around the fire, sharing warmth and comfort. As spring draws near, they begin spending more time outdoors, repairing structures, collecting supplies, and preparing for the months ahead. In this way, the home functions almost like a living organism, constantly adjusting to both the needs of its inhabitants and the conditions outside. For now, however, in the depth of winter, survival is the main concern. Every choice and every task is focused on keeping the cold away. In the soft, flickering glow of the hearth, it becomes clear how much of life revolves around endurance, simply getting through difficult periods. The peasant home is more than a physical structure. It stands as proof of human resilience and the ability to adapt to even the most unforgiving environments. As you sit near the fire, warmed by its steady heat, the simplicity of this world becomes apparent. The fire, the thatch, the mud walls. It feels distant from modern comforts, yet it also connects to something deeply familiar. The need for warmth, safety, and survival is universal. This experience crosses time and place. Through their quiet determination, the peasants reveal both how far humanity has progressed and how much remains unchanged. The fire continues to burn steadily in the hearth, its light casting long, gentle shadows across the interior walls. Outside, the landscape stays frozen, an unbroken stretch of snow and ice. Inside, daily life revolves around the heat produced by this single fire. There is no easy escape from the cold during these months, no simple solution to hold frost at bay. Winter winds batter the thatched roofs and seep through timber walls. Yet despite the brutal conditions beyond the home, warmth exists inside, warmth that must be earned and maintained each day. One of the most time-consuming and vital winter tasks is gathering firewood. A constant supply of wood is essential to survival. Without it, heat vanishes, and cold slowly takes over the house. Firewood represents more than comfort, it represents life itself. Choosing the right wood, cutting it properly, and stacking it carefully are all critical steps. The wood must remain dry, as damp logs burn poorly and only increase the chill. The work involved in collecting, chopping, and storing enough wood for winter is demanding. In nearby forests, peasants often work together, cutting trees and gathering fuel to ensure there is enough to last through the season. Every log matters. It is not simply a matter of collecting wood. The logs are cut with care so they burn evenly and slowly. The peasants understand that the fire must last for hours, providing steady heat rather than short-lived flames. Each piece is sized and stacked with intention. This careful approach reflects the deep respect peasants have for their resources. Nothing is wasted. Every part of a tree serves a purpose, whether for construction, heating, or cooking. Survival depends on using what the forest offers in the most effective way possible. During winter, rationing becomes especially important, particularly when it comes to firewood. Observing the peasants at work reveals how carefully they plan each day. They know exactly how much wood is needed to warm the home during daylight hours and how much must be saved for the long nights. Every action is calculated. Resource management extends beyond firewood to food, warmth, and even physical energy. Firewood and the hearth also play an important role in the social life of peasant communities. While the hearth is the center of the home, it often holds broader communal importance. In some villages, fires are shared. Families may come together, especially during severe winters, sharing hearth space and fuel. This collective approach ensures that no one is left without heat or nourishment. The hearth becomes a place not only of warmth but also of connection. It is where people gather, talk, and pass the long winter evenings. As the fire flickers, social bonds grow stronger. In this way, the hearth supports both physical survival and community cohesion. Beyond its practical uses, fire also carries a symbolic weight in peasant life. The hearth is more than a functional feature. It represents life itself. In many cultures, it is seen as a protected or even sacred space. Fire stands as one of the few forces capable of resisting the relentless cold. It provides warmth, light, and the means to cook and preserve food. Historians continue to debate whether the hearth held spiritual meaning. Some believe it symbolized the family's life force, while others argue it was valued purely for practical reasons. Regardless of interpretation, its importance is undeniable. In addition to the hearth, clothing serves as another critical source of warmth. Proper clothing is essential for survival. Thick wool garments, cloaks, tunics, and stockings made from sheep's fleece wrap the peasants' bodies. Spun into yarn and woven into fabric, these clothes are simple but highly effective at retaining heat. Designed to be worn in layers, each piece adds protection against the cold. These garments are not only for indoor comfort but also for working outdoors in harsh conditions. Every item serves a clear purpose, and each stitch reflects the ingenuity of those who made them. Footwear is equally vital, offering protection and insulation against frozen ground. Simple leather boots, often lined with wool or fur, helped keep their feet warm as they moved through deep snow. These boots were built for function, created to endure the severe conditions of winter. You can picture the soft crunch of boots pressing into the snow as peasants walk back and forth collecting firewood or tending to their animals. There is something about footsteps in snow that reflects the quiet of winter, while also highlighting the endurance of those who live through it. Wrapped in heavy coats and wearing durable boots, the peasants are prepared for the cold. Yet they know that preparation has limits. No matter how careful they are, nature always remains in control. Winter returns year after year, and readiness is never optional. Their dependence on clothing and shelter goes beyond simple survival. It represents their effort to cope with a difficult reality. Over generations, peasants learned how to adjust to unforgiving winters. They came to understand their surroundings and learned to cooperate with them rather than resist them. The garments they wear, the houses they construct, and the fires they maintain all serve a clear purpose, making it through the season. This ongoing process of adaptation reflects a lifestyle built around accepting the rhythm of nature instead of opposing it. Throughout it all, the fire remains lit, offering warmth, light, and the means to live. As wind roars outside and snow falls in heavy spirals, it becomes easy to appreciate the simple but effective methods peasants use to survive. Their efforts go beyond building walls or gathering fuel. Survival depends on cooperation, careful use of resources, and steady determination. Even during the coldest and darkest days, warmth exists within shared spaces and strong relationships. Ultimately, it is not the buildings alone that sustain them, but the connections between people and their constant effort to stay ahead of the cold. The nights stretch long, but the heat from the hearth keeps the cold at a distance. Outside, snow covers everything, the ground frozen solid, trees bare, and wind blowing without pause. Inside, the peasants remain secure, sheltered by modest homes constructed through their own labor. Still, the struggle continues. The cold is not a brief discomfort, it is a constant force that challenges them daily. While the fire provides essential warmth, peasants rely on several other methods to stay comfortable. Thick wool blankets are stacked on beds, and each family member is wrapped in layers of fabric. Bodies are drawn close together to preserve heat. Sleeping side by side is not merely convenient, it is necessary for survival. More people in one space means shared warmth. The heat from nearby bodies offers comfort even as the wind presses against the roof. The blankets themselves are carefully made, produced from sheep's wool that has been spun and woven into heavy, insulating fabric. Though they require long hours of labor, they are critical for keeping the cold out, serving as a simple but reliable defense. Beds serve more than one purpose. They are places not only for sleep, but also for rest, gathering, and work. During the harshest months, outdoor labor becomes limited as the ground freezes. Much of daily life shifts indoors. This is when the importance of these small homes becomes most clear. They are not just protection from the cold, but centers of daily life. Children are taught there, tools are repaired, clothing is mended, and stories are exchanged. Though small and plain, these spaces are essential to the survival of the community. What may seem unpleasant to others, the smoke from the hearth or the scent of damp wool, is comforting to the peasants. The air carries the smell of burning wood and animal hides drying by the fire. The steady crackle of flames provides warmth and light during long evenings. Without it, darkness would feel endless. The hearth also brings a sense of safety, acting as a barrier between the freezing outdoors and the warmth inside. Beyond its practical use, the fire represents life itself. As long as it burns, survival remains possible. Still, fire alone is not enough to keep a home livable through winter. Constant maintenance is required. Thatched roofs are especially vulnerable to heavy snowfall, which can weigh them down, soak the materials, and increase the risk of collapse. Peasants remain alert, regularly inspecting roofs and walls for damage. Maintenance is an ongoing task. Each storm brings urgency, as neglect could lead to disaster. In some areas, villagers cooperate to secure one another's homes, strengthening community ties while ensuring safety. The roof may be the most exposed part of the house, but it is also among the most critical. The foundation is just as important. Without a stable base, homes could shift or weaken when the ground freezes. Peasants choose locations carefully, avoiding areas prone to flooding or sinking. Building materials are selected for strength and resistance to harsh weather. Floors made of stone or clay help block cold from the frozen earth below. As you move through the home, the chill beneath your feet is noticeable, yet these materials help retain warmth inside. This reflects another example of how peasants adapted their shelters to withstand winter, not just shielding against wind, but creating solid structures capable of enduring extreme conditions. Even today, scholars debate the precise methods used to insulate medieval homes across regions. While there is agreement on common materials such as mud, thatch, and stone, historians continue to discuss how widely animal products were used for insulation. Some argue that animal hides were essential in northern regions, while others believe their use depended largely on local availability. Regardless of these differences, it is evident that peasants understood their materials and how to combine them effectively. Every choice mattered, and mistakes could be costly. Animals also played a key role in winter survival. In many colder areas, peasant homes included space for livestock near the family's living quarters. This arrangement was not merely practical, but deliberate, contributing to warmth and survival during the coldest months. It was a deliberate strategy to preserve warmth. Animals, usually housed in a small stable or enclosure next to the home, served two purposes. They provided food and helped generate heat. The warmth from their bodies slowly transferred into the living space, making the interiors slightly more bearable during winter. This practical approach highlights how peasants learned to use every part of their surroundings to their advantage. Their dependence on animals also extended to dung, which was sometimes used as insulation within the home's walls. Mixed with straw or mud, animal dung was pressed into the gaps between logs, forming an extra layer of protection against the cold. While unexpected by modern standards, this method was effective and reflects the ingenuity and adaptability of peasant life. Though it may seem unpleasant today, it played a critical role in surviving winter conditions. As time passes, it becomes clear that winter is more than a season for peasants. It defines their way of life. Every detail of daily existence is shaped by cold weather, from construction methods to everyday routines. Their homes are not simple shelters but carefully designed systems built to provide safety and warmth in extreme conditions. While the world outside appears bleak and frozen, inside the house there is a sense of purpose and warmth. The fire crackles in the hearth, casting a steady glow, and life continues despite the harsh environment beyond the walls. As days shorten and nights grow colder, life inside the peasant home follows a steady rhythm, focused on the constant effort to stay warm. Outside, the wind strikes the walls relentlessly, but inside there is a calm resilience. Soft voices fill the room, utensils tap against bowls, and wood is added to the fire at regular intervals. Together, these sounds form a steady background, a quiet reminder of survival and shared existence that helps keep the cold at bay. Life indoors is governed by the careful management of limited supplies. As winter deepens, peasants rely heavily on stored provisions: dried meats, salted fish, root vegetables, and grains. Portions are measured with care to ensure supplies last until spring. Waste is avoided at all costs. Food scraps are preserved whenever possible. Bones from meals are saved for broth, and leftover bread is dried and reused as crumbs for cooking. Nothing is discarded without purpose. Every item gathered is used fully, reflecting how deeply frugality is embedded in daily life. Meals are simple yet sustaining, providing enough nourishment to endure the cold. Stews simmer slowly over the fire, filling the small space with warmth and aroma. The gentle bubbling of the pot blends with the scent of onions, root vegetables, salted meat, and burning wood, creating a grounded and comforting atmosphere. The family gathers close, faces lit by firelight, sharing food together. These moments of unity stand out during a demanding season, reinforcing that even in hardship, there is something to share. These meals serve more than a practical function. They are social gatherings. Around the hearth, families eat, talk, exchange stories, and plan ahead. The fire offers physical warmth, but it also strengthens bonds. It creates space for reassurance and connection, reminding each person that they face winter together. In the quiet of long nights, this shared warmth reinforces the importance of community and mutual support. Daily life during winter revolves around maintaining a careful balance. Each day matters. Every meal brings them one step closer to spring. Survival is essential, but so is hope. Long nights are eased by laughter, storytelling, and songs sung by the fire. These small moments of joy prevent the darkness and cold from becoming overwhelming. Beyond heat and food, other comforts play an important role within these homes. Small details stand out: woven baskets holding dried herbs, hand-carved wooden spoons, and simple clay cooking pots. While practical, these items also provide familiarity and reassurance. They are part of a routine that gives structure to daily life. In winter, even the most ordinary objects take on greater meaning, becoming essential elements of comfort and continuity. Each item, each habit contributes to keeping the family warm, fed, and united. During the long winter months, these quiet comforts, blankets, shared meals, and the steady fire, are what allow peasants to endure. They not only ensure survival but give life a sense of worth. There is a clear understanding that while the cold may be relentless, the bonds between family, neighbors, and the wider community are what truly sustain them. It's difficult not to admire this resilience and quiet strength. Their endurance is rooted in shared hardship, and their warmth comes from more than fire alone. It comes from human connection. This communal way of living stands in sharp contrast to modern life. Today, heating systems, insulation, and convenience often shield us from winter's severity. In the medieval village, warmth must be earned through effort, planning, and cooperation. The hearth represents this shared labor, a source of physical heat and emotional comfort. Yet survival is not just about keeping the fire alive. It also depends on making the most of every available resource. Peasants know how to stretch food supplies, improve insulation, and support one another during the hardest days. When provisions run low and firewood becomes scarce, they adapt. This flexibility and resourcefulness are what allow them to survive winter year after year. Even as icy winds continue to blow outside and the ground remains frozen, there is a quiet confidence in the air. The peasants understand that winter will eventually end. Spring will return, snow will melt, and life will begin again. They know this because they have seen it before. The fire will burn stronger, the hearth will glow once more, and the land will come back to life, just as it always does. Meanwhile, the peasants remain gathered closely, drawing warmth not only from the fire but from one another. As the cold wind moves fiercely outside, families stay close, relying on cooperation to endure the winter months. Survival is never guaranteed, yet they meet these hardships with quiet resolve, understanding that unity makes them stronger against the cold. The nights grow longer, each seeming colder than the one before. As winter's steady rhythm surrounds the land, the wind continues outside, while inside the peasant home, a calm stillness takes hold. The gentle crackle of the fire, the faint sounds of movement, and the soft rustle of blankets fill the space. The hearth provides steady warmth, its flames flickering in the fire pit. But its value goes beyond heat alone. It offers reassurance, familiarity, and a sense of home, standing as a barrier against the relentless cold beyond the walls. As time passes, it becomes clear how every small detail supports the household's survival. Nothing is wasted, and nothing is left unplanned. The peasants act with care and intention, always preparing for what lies ahead. Every portion of food is measured. Every piece of firewood serves a specific purpose. The family works together to keep the fire burning, prepare meals, and take turns tending the hearth. Survival here is not only physical. It depends on living in balance with available resources, adjusting needs to match the demands of the season. It raises the question of how these people endure such winters year after year. Their strength does not come solely from their homes, stored food, or maintained fires. It comes from a deeper knowledge, an understanding of the seasons, the ability to adapt, and the skill of using what the land provides. Medieval peasants developed a close relationship with their environment, built on careful observation, patience, and endurance. This is evident in how they store food. Root cellars are dug deep into the cold ground, where vegetables, fruits, and grains can last through winter. These spaces are simple in design but highly effective. Earth and stone insulate the contents, shielding them from frost. Inside these cellars, life quietly continues even as the world above remains frozen. The peasants understand that survival depends on careful preparation. Autumn harvests are stored with precision to ensure supplies last until spring arrives. In many ways, these cellars represent hope. Each preserved jar, each sack of grain, and each stored root is a promise of survival until the land becomes fertile again. Yet the foundation of survival is not limited to physical resources. Community plays an equally vital role. During winter especially, it becomes clear that shared bonds with family and neighbors are essential. When resources grow scarce, villagers support one another. Firewood, food, and other necessities are exchanged, particularly during harsher winters. This cooperation is critical. One household may have enough food but lack fuel, while another may face the opposite situation. Through sharing, balance is maintained, allowing the entire village to endure. As families gather around their hearths, a clear reality emerges. Survival is a shared responsibility. Each household relies on others, often without fully realizing it. Small gestures, sharing wood, offering food, lending help, create a strong sense of unity. This quiet cooperation forms the foundation of trust within the village. Individual survival becomes secondary to collective survival. The more closely this life is observed, the clearer it becomes that resilience is rooted not just in facing the elements, but in facing them together. This sense of togetherness is deeply embedded in medieval life, especially during winter. Cold months bring isolation, slower work, and shorter days. Yet the hearth serves as a gathering place, drawing people together to talk, share stories, and plan ahead. Within this modest room, enclosed by stone and mud walls, peasants find shelter not only from the cold but from loneliness. There is comfort in knowing that others are enduring the same conditions. This shared warmth, both physical and emotional, holds the community together when winter feels endless. The importance of this shared space becomes even clearer when considering survival itself. The home is more than shelter, it is a place of communication and exchange. When the fire weakens, someone steps in to tend it. Firewood is brought in, and the needs of the group are addressed. Every family member has a role. Though tending the fire may seem simple, it reflects a larger truth, the need to care for one another. The work never stops, but it is divided among many, making survival a shared effort rather than an individual burden. It is not surprising that many peasant traditions centered on the hearth. Important life events, weddings, births, harvest celebrations, often took place around the fire. The hearth was more than a source of heat, it was the heart of social life. In this confined space, surrounded by family and neighbors, peasants found comfort even during the harshest winters. The fire symbolized the center of the household, where work, rest, and social life met. Historians continue to debate how communal medieval life truly was. Some argue that villages were more independent, with families maintaining privacy and self-reliance. Others believe that cooperation was essential and that shared survival during winter strengthened communal bonds. Regardless of interpretation, one fact remains clear. During the cold months, the shared challenge of survival connected people in powerful ways. As the fire dims and night deepens, winter presses against the walls of the home. Inside, however, warmth remains, not only from the flames, but from the shared experience of endurance. The cold is constant, yet it also serves as a reminder of communal strength and resilience. The long nights continue, days blending together in winter's grip. Still, within this unchanging routine, there is a subtle shift. Slowly, almost unnoticed, the light begins to return. The days are slowly lengthening, bringing with them a quiet sense of hope. The peasants, though exhausted by the relentless demands of survival, feel it too. This is not the hope of immediate relief. It remains distant, hidden in the promise of spring, but a steady, deep-rooted belief that the harshest part of winter is drawing to a close. With this belief comes renewed purpose. The hearth continues to burn, but it now represents more than survival. It is a symbol of endurance, a reminder of the distance they've traveled through the season. Outside, snow still piles thick and heavy, but inside, the peasants gather closer to the fire. The room feels warmer, even if the chill never fully disappears. It is a small warmth, yet enough to lift spirits. The flickering firelight casts gentle shadows on the stone and timber walls, imbuing the home with a subtle energy born of survival. There is a noticeable shift in how the peasants move and speak. The burdens of the harshest winter days feel slightly lighter. Laughter returns around the hearth, stories are shared, and the fire itself seems to breathe new life into the household. Daily life remains governed by survival, gathering firewood, tending animals, rationing food. Yet now, an undercurrent of anticipation runs through their routines. They know the cold will not last forever and begin quietly planning for the months ahead. Soon, the first buds of spring will emerge, carrying with them the promise of renewal. Even as the days grow longer, the peasants display quiet tenacity. There is no frantic energy, no dramatic change in behavior, just steady hope, a patient understanding that winter will end in its own time, and until then, the work continues. Their focus remains on the hearth, the warmth of the home, and the shared task of enduring the cold. Each day brings them closer to when the earth will thaw and they can step outside again to feel the sun's warmth. For now, the work continues. The fire crackles as another log is added. The peasants move with efficiency, their actions fluid and purposeful. Food is prepared, blankets adjusted, and the hearth replenished. The rhythm of winter persists. Work, gather, maintain, survive. The cold remains biting, but with each passing day, their resilience grows. Within the home, community bonds strengthen. Family members work together, speak with ease, and share laughter. Small joys, a warm fire, an extra portion of food, a few additional minutes of sunlight, carry more meaning. The winter feels less oppressive. The peasants have learned to coexist with the cold, facing it with patience and strength. The hearth glows, and its warmth becomes both physical and emotional. It is a gathering point, a symbol of shared energy and comfort, sustaining them through hardship. The fire represents more than mere survival. It nurtures their spirit. Tending it is no longer a mundane task. It has a deeper significance. It ensures that warmth, literal and figurative, remains constant. The fire sustains life, energizing and fortifying the family. The peasant homes themselves, modest as they may be, are far from insignificant. They are not just shelters, they are sanctuaries, shaped with knowledge and care to protect life and dreams. Yet it is the hearth, the shared warmth, that makes these homes refuges. As seasons shift and winter gives way to spring, the hearth remains the home's center. The fire burns steadily, a companion in the ongoing struggle against the cold. The peasants endure, confident that life will return to the earth once more. The crackling fire embodies the essence of life itself, a steady struggle against the elements, a fight to preserve warmth and spirit against the cold. The first signs of spring arrive quietly, almost unnoticed in daily routines. The sun lingers longer each day, its rays weak but persistent. For the peasants, this is monumental after months of cold and confinement. Spring brings a surge of energy felt in the air. The fire still burns, but it now offers comfort rather than necessity, keeping residual chill at bay as the seasons shift. Family members begin moving about the house with renewed purpose. Daily tasks, tending animals, preparing food, making repairs, continue, but with an underlying lightness. The worst of winter has passed. Outside, the ground softens, patches of snow melt, and the first signs of green emerge. Renewal is tangible. Life restarts slowly, yet steadily, with spring's arrival. Energy in the home subtly changes. The air feels lighter, windows open more often, welcoming fresher, slightly warmer air. Peasants begin stepping outside, tending garden plots once buried under snow. The remaining snow melts gradually under sunlight, revealing the earth beneath. The promise of life returning to the land is palpable, mirrored in the steady warmth and light of the hearth, a symbol of enduring resilience. With the arrival of Thor, there comes a sense of renewal, not just in the land, but in the hearts of the people. The fear of winter's harsh cold slowly gives way to the hope of the coming season. Food stores, carefully rationed throughout the long winter months, are dwindling. The last preserved meats and dried vegetables are being consumed, and the family knows that spring will demand fresh food. The early spring harvest, modest though it may be, offers the first fresh greens of the year, small herb shoots, early vegetables, and perhaps a few wild fruits if fortune allows. After months of preserved and dried provisions, the prospect of fresh food brings a tangible excitement. The peasants are attuned to the rhythm of the seasons. Winter, though harsh, makes spring all the more rewarding. You can see the shift in focus. Repairs begin on the snow-battered roof, patching thatch and checking for leaks. Walls are inspected for cracks, and the woodpile that sustained warmth throughout winter is replenished. Though home maintenance is a year-round task, these repairs carry optimism, a recognition that the worst of the cold has passed. The work remains necessary, yet it is undertaken with relief and confidence. The hearth, still flickering with flames, symbolizes this transition. No longer the center of survival, it now serves as a reminder of endurance. The fire is maintained, wood is gathered, but its role has changed. It is no longer a lifeline but a comforting presence. The subtle shift is unmistakable. Spring has arrived quietly, bringing the promise of new beginnings. The family prepares for the months ahead with renewed energy. Livestock are checked to ensure enough feed until grass grows again. Animals sense the change too, becoming more active as days lengthen. The peasants know spring is a time for planting, for working the land, and there is no time to waste. Crops must be sown, fields prepared, and the work for warmer months begun. Yet, even with seasonal change, there is appreciation for winter's lessons. The struggle to stay warm, the effort to maintain shelter, and the careful preservation of food have shaped their lives. Without winter's challenges, spring's rewards would feel less meaningful. There is no bitterness toward the cold months, only respect for how they forced people to work together, value small comforts, and strengthen community. The hearth's warmth, preserved food, and collective effort enabled survival. Without them, enduring winter would have been impossible. Observing the family at work, one sees that the harshest winters test resilience. Year after year, peasants adapt, survive, and thrive in ways many cannot imagine. Fire, food, and shelter form a delicate system that sustains life. As spring rises on the horizon, it becomes clear, survival is more than resisting the elements. It is a fight for life, renewal of land, and cohesion of the community. The hearth, once indispensable, now quietly honors what has been endured. Spring brings new life, yet the memory of winter, the work, and shared struggle remains. Peasants have learned to face cold with strength, endure hardship patiently, and embrace the warmth of community when the world outside freezes. As the fire burns on, they look forward, knowing the cycle continues. The first signs of spring bring relief to the outside world. Snow recedes, revealing cold, brown earth ready to warm. Yet, the journey is far from over. Winds are gentler and sunlight stronger, but much work remains before true thaw arrives. Family members, lighter in step, stay vigilant, tending animals, patching roofs, and preparing soil for planting. Life's pace quickens, purposeful but measured. Spring, like all things, demands patience. The fire, once constant, now serves a secondary role. It still burns in the hearth, but it no longer dominates daily life. Wood is stacked in smaller, rationed piles for the occasional cold morning. The hearth, long the home's focal point, becomes a backdrop to daily activity. The family works with renewed energy, signaling winter's end. The fire's glow flickers less but remains a comforting presence, symbolizing the transition to hope and warmth. Survival work has shifted. The focus is no longer mere endurance but preparation. Early spring yields small gifts, greens, wild herbs, dandelions, and tender vegetable shoots that survived the freeze. These fresh foods, modest but vital, carry the promise of growth and the hope of what is yet to come. The seasonal change lifts the family spirits. Children, cooped up all winter, run outdoors, laughter echoing through the village, a welcome contrast to winter's quiet isolation. Adults move with renewed purpose, following a rhythm of work imbued with hope. Soil is tilled, fences repaired, seeds sown, animals tended, and anticipation pulses through the community. A quiet optimism emerges. Yet, peasants remain aware. Spring brings its own challenges, just as winter did. Weather remains unpredictable, with frost threatening tender shoots and storms risking newly planted fields. Still, there is an invigorating sense of possibility, renewal, growth, and the rewards of effort. The peasants have experienced this cycle countless times. They know that after the harshest winter, the earth will eventually thaw. Buds will appear, flowers will bloom, and life will resume its natural rhythm. For them, spring is more than a seasonal change, it is a moment of reflection, a chance to look back on the hardships of winter and acknowledge the distance they've traveled. The fire that once burned so brightly in their hearths now serves as a symbol of endurance. Its warmth, their shelters, and the strength of their communities represent the resilience that carried them through the coldest months. As the fire becomes less central and spring's work begins, a quiet pride fills their hearts. They have survived. The toughest days are behind them, and the gradual arrival of spring reminds them that life continues. Yet, this relief is brief. Spring brings not only life but labor. Fields must be prepared, seeds sown, and animals cared for. As the earth softens and days lengthen, life's pace accelerates. The work shifts from mere survival to thriving. For the first time in months, peasants can look beyond warmth and sustenance, contemplating the harvest ahead, the crops that will grow, and the animals that will mature. Observing their routines, it becomes clear how deeply their lives are connected to the rhythms of the earth. Every season brings its own cycle and responsibilities. Winter is about endurance, spring is about planting, nurturing, and renewal. Peasants are attuned to these cycles, understanding that survival depends not just on shelter or food, but on a profound connection to the land and its natural patterns. Historians still debate the role of agriculture in medieval peasant life. Some argue survival relied heavily on subsistence farming and hunting, while others suggest trade played a larger role. What remains certain is that the land was central to their existence. The cycles of the earth shaped their lives just as much as the homes they built and the fires they maintained. As the last snow melts, the village awakens. Simple homes, once surrounded by a blanket of white, now rest on warming soil, shedding the final traces of ice. The fire, once essential, becomes a memory of survival rather than a necessity. The present holds the promise of growth, life, and new beginnings, inspiring a quiet gratitude. The peasants endured and survived, and with the sun's warmth returning, they faced the future with cautious hope. The work of survival never truly ends, but spring is a reminder that life always finds a way. The peasants know this well. Their homes were built to resist winter's extremes, and now, as warmth returns, they trust that the cycle will continue and life will renew itself. With spring fully arrived, the transition from winter's harsh grip to milder days feels tangible. The air carries the scent of damp earth, and though the ground remains soft and wet, life is visibly stirring. The peasants are active, moving with a different energy than winter's frantic preparation, a measured energy rooted in hope for abundance and a fruitful harvest. Survival has evolved into cultivation, and the once lifeless land now hums with renewal. In the fields, peasants plant seeds with care. The earth, still cool beneath their feet, responds to their hands. They move in harmony with the seasons, each family tending their plots, sowing the food that will sustain them through the next cycle. The softened soil contrasts sharply with winter's frozen ground. They know the risks, famine, late frosts, and storms, but they plant and hope nonetheless. Their work reveals a quiet faith. Patience defines their labor, for they may not see the results of their efforts for months. They water, weed, and tend, fully aware that much is beyond their control. The land and weather are unpredictable, yet they continue. Their labor is a steady rhythm, a dance handed down through generations, a balance of struggle and satisfaction. This interplay of effort and reward characterizes their lives. Fieldwork is challenging but deeply fulfilling. The peasants' connection to the land extends beyond survival. It reflects their understanding of the natural world and their role within it. The earth is not a force to conquer but a partner to nurture and respect. Spring's joy encompasses more than crops. It is in the returning warmth, the first blooms, and the songs of birds. The village resonates with this quiet celebration of life. Children, released from long months indoors, laugh and play in the thawing earth. Their joy is infectious, filling the air with lightness, contrasting winter's heavy silence. Yet the peasants remain grounded. They understand that spring is not a guarantee of ease. More work awaits, seeds to sow, crops to tend, animals to care for. Seasons are cyclical, and what is planted today demands attention tomorrow. The rhythm of life continues, a blend of labor, patience, and enduring hope. There is a quiet optimism now. It isn't a loud or triumphant hope, but a steady, gentle belief that spring will bring what they need. The rhythms of nature are as integral to their lives as the cycles of fire and food. They have learned to trust these cycles, even knowing that hardships will return. In the homes, the fire still burns. Its meaning has shifted. It is no longer the life-sustaining warmth of winter, but a comforting presence that represents the family's endurance through harsh months. The hearth provides heat, yes, but it is no longer the center of the household. With spring's arrival, the family can now gather outside, working in the fields or sharing meals in the sunlight. The warmth of the hearth has been replaced by the warmth of the earth, and for the first time in many months, the family feels embraced by the season. Spring brings more than a physical change. It brings a mental and emotional shift. The peasants, weary from their preparation, breathe easier. The weight of cold, the constant vigilance required to keep the fire stoked, food stocked, and walls secure, has lifted. There is now room to rest, to look ahead with cautious hope. The land has gifted them spring, and they cherish it fully, aware that the cycle will repeat. It is remarkable to consider what they have endured to reach this moment. Winter seemed endless, each day a struggle to stay warm, fed, and alive. Yet now, as spring light spreads across the fields, it becomes clear that their true strength was never in tools or homes. It lies in their resilience, the ability to endure, adapt, and survive. Physical and emotional endurance carried them through the hardest months. The village itself seems to shift with the season. Homes that were once insulated and closed against the cold now open wide. Smoke rises gently from the chimneys, and the scent of freshly plowed earth fills the air. The peasants move purposefully from house to field to barn, working steadily. There is no rush, no panic, only consistent effort. That quiet, unwavering determination has always sustained them. Historians often note the resilience of medieval peasants as central to their lives. Luxuries were rare, solutions were scarce, and no one could guarantee the next season's bounty. And yet, they endured, building sturdy homes, planting crops, caring for animals, and maintaining faith in the rhythm of the seasons. Now, with spring fully arrived, it shows in their eyes. There is quiet satisfaction at having survived winter's hardships, and an understanding that while work continues, they are prepared for the next season. The village hums with the unmistakable energy of spring. Birds return, their songs threading through the day. Frozen earth softens, releasing the scent of growth. Small, vibrant flowers push through the soil, greeting the first warmth. Life is returning everywhere. The peasants, though tired from winter's labors, relax into the season's rhythm. The pressure of constant vigilance has eased, and for the first time in months, they can breathe and enjoy the gentle warmth. The hearth still burns, but it is now a quiet companion, a reminder of months past. Balance returns to the home as the land awakens outside. In the fields, they work together with purpose. The frozen soil now yields to experienced hands. Their movements show harmony and rhythm, honed over years of labor. Early crops, potatoes, onions, carrots, and peas, are planted steadily. Growth may be slow, but each seed is a promise, a quiet act of faith in the seasons. Frost or storms may threaten, yet they persist, trusting the land's return. Children, too, emerge into the sun after months near the fire. They carry small bundles, gather stones, and help water crops. Their faces, once pale from winter, now glow with life. Their smiles reflect the joy of freedom, of reconnecting with the earth, and the rhythm of the seasons. The seasons shape the peasants' lives. They are not merely surviving, they are part of a larger cycle that predates them and will continue long after. Survival demands patience, attention, and respect. They work as partners with the land, not masters, recognizing that the earth gives no guarantees. Spring's work is heavy, yet the air feels lighter. Focus shifts from mere survival to growth. Fields that were bare now promise harvest. Labor remains difficult, but it carries hope and renewal. As days lengthen and warmth lingers, the hearth transitions from essential survival tool to comforting ritual. Heat is no longer dictated by fire alone. It comes from the earth, the sun, and life pulsing beneath the soil. Though work continues, there is space to rest, to sit, and to listen to the village awaken. The peasants move forward with quiet determination, rooted in endurance, patience, and faith in the cycles of the land. There's a subtle, almost imperceptible shift in the village now. The urgency of winter has faded, replaced by the steady, patient rhythm of spring. The peasants understand that the cycle of seasons is delicate. Spring doesn't guarantee summer, and summer doesn't guarantee fall, yet they trust the land and the work they put into it. Having endured enough harsh winters, they know warmth will eventually return. There's a near-sacred rhythm to it. Spring cannot be rushed. It has its own pace, its own time, and the earth must be allowed to find its way. You can sense this rhythm in the village. In the laughter of children, the quiet hum of workers, the soft breeze rustling through the leaves. It's a rhythm passed down through generations, one that will continue long after these peasants are gone. The world turns, seasons come and go, each bringing its own challenges and gifts, but what remains constant is the effort to live, to work, and to thrive. The fire may no longer dominate their attention, but its presence lingers. Just as the memory of winter's cold stays in their hearts, they understand that the earth both gives and demands, and they meet it with the same quiet strength that has carried them through countless winters. Historians often cite the resilience of medieval peasants as an example of endurance. The hardships they faced were immense, yet they persevered. The land, unpredictable as it was, served as both provider and adversary. Ultimately, it was their deep understanding of its rhythms that enabled survival. Now, as spring unfurls its warmth, the beauty of their simple lives becomes evident. The quiet joy of a successful planting, the shared laughter of families reunited with the earth. Survival is not only about enduring, it is about living, adapting, and continuing the dance with the seasons, no matter how demanding. As the sun sets behind the hills, casting a soft golden glow over the village. The hearth fire still burns. The day may be over, but survival continues. The peasants rest for now, but tomorrow they will return to the fields, to the animals, to the steady rhythm of life that is both gentle and demanding. And so the cycle continues, constant, unyielding, and alive. As days lengthen, the outside world settles into a predictable rhythm. The once desolate land now buzzes with life. The first flowers bloom, and the trees begin to bud, their branches promising growth. Peasants who once huddled by the fire to stay warm now spend more time outdoors. Work remains, of course. The earth must be tended, animals cared for, homes repaired before summer arrives. But the weight of winter feels lighter, and the promise of abundance grows. The village has become more lively. Children's laughter rings through the warm air as they play in open fields. Adults move with more energy, their spirits lifted as work takes on a new kind of rhythm, one of purposeful labor with the anticipation of reward. The planting season is in full swing. Peasants sow seeds and tend crops, preparing for the months ahead. The fire, still used at night, now symbolizes what has passed rather than mere survival. Walking through the village, you see peasants working side by side, each focused on their tasks, yet connected by a shared purpose. There is no rush, no desperation, just an unspoken understanding that the land must be nurtured. Their labor is steady, measured by the rhythm of the seasons. The earth, warmed enough for planting, is being prepared for what comes next. Peasants work together in ways reflecting their deep bond to the land and to each other. The isolation of winter has given way to the quiet camaraderie of spring. The air is rich with the scent of damp earth and growing things, and you can almost feel the land breathing with the villagers as it awakens. Every seed sown carries the promise of the future. In their simple, steady way, the peasants continue to shape their world. They do not rush, they adapt to the seasons. Through this quiet, deliberate work, they survive and thrive. The joy of spring lies not in sudden change, but in the persistent, gentle return of life. Watching them water crops, hands moving with care, you see a connection, not just between peasants and land, but among the villagers themselves. They are united by labor, by the seasons, and by the understanding that survival is a collective effort. Standing among them, observing crops taking root, it's clear how deeply peasants have learned to live with the land. They adapt to its cycles of growth and dormancy, finding peace in the knowledge that careful tending will yield sustenance. Their homes, modest but enduring, reflect this connection, built from wood and mud with knowledge passed down through generations. Farming practices are similarly guided by what has worked before. In return, the land provides food, shelter, and renewal. Historians note how closely peasant life followed the seasons. Without modern conveniences, survival depended on a deep understanding of the natural world. The rhythm of the seasons was their lifeblood. Hearth, fire, and tools were instruments of survival. Yet it was more than endurance. It was living, finding meaning in the steady work of cultivating land, raising families, and building homes. Their strength lay not just in physical resilience but in understanding the unspoken bond with the earth that sustained them. This connection is evident in their work. They are neither frantic nor idle. Movements are deliberate, honed through years of experience. They know the soil, the seasons, and the value of patience. The labor is hard, yet deeply fulfilling. As you watch them move through the fields, it becomes clear that their rhythm, their way of life, is not just about survival. It is about being part of the enduring cycle of life, a cycle they have participated in for generations, and one that will continue long after they are gone. The transition from winter to spring, from merely surviving to beginning to thrive, is never sudden. It is gradual, unfolding slowly, reflecting the land itself. The peasants carry on with their work quietly. There is no celebration, no dramatic moment of triumph. Instead, there is a quiet satisfaction, an understanding that every small action brings them closer to the rewards that summer will eventually bring. Crops will grow, animals will flourish, and life will go on. Having endured the harshest winter, the warmth of spring now steadies them, preparing them to embrace the new season with patient hope and steadfast determination. As the sun sinks lower, casting a gentle golden glow over the fields, the weight of winter seems to lift. The world is not fully awake yet, but it stirs, stretching itself in preparation for summer. The peasants know what lies ahead. The work will continue, and the changing seasons will test them again. The fire that burned long and hot through the cold months has served its purpose. Now, it is the soil, the sun, and the steady hands of the peasants that will sustain them. The cycle continues quietly and steadily, just as it always has. With the days now longer, the village comes alive in a near-magical way. Barren fields transform into rows of green, tender crops reaching skyward. The peasants still work, but with a renewed energy. Gone is the frantic winter pace, no more scrambling for warmth or food. Their focus is now on nurturing the growth already underway. Each day brings taller plants, stronger animals, and a brighter world. The peasants move with calm purpose, steady but unhurried. After the long, grueling months, there is a sense of quiet confidence. Their efforts are beginning to pay off, but there is no room for complacency. Though the work has shifted to tending crops and caring for animals, it remains demanding. Spring does not eliminate the need for diligence. Summer will bring new challenges. For now, however, their attention rests on steady, visible growth. The hearth, once central to every home, now serves more sparingly. It still offers warmth in the cool mornings and evenings, but its importance has lessened. The earth, the sun, and the flourishing plants take precedence. Doors are left open more often, letting in fresh air. Families gather outside, enjoying the sunlight and the earth beneath their feet, celebrating the first fruits of the season. You can see how the peasants embrace spring. Their faces lift as the land transforms. They move from fields to barns, gardens to homes, working side by side. There is comfort in their rhythm. It is patient, deliberate. Nature cannot be rushed. Plants grow in their own time, the earth gives when it is ready, and they continue their steady labor. The sounds of the village now carry a new energy, the laughter of children running through the fields, the hum of families eating together, the rhythmic tapping of tools. Life has returned to the village, which was quiet and isolated during winter. The hearth fire, still burning, is now a soft presence, a reminder of months endured. Important, yes, but no longer the centerpiece of life. Historians often describe this shift from winter to spring as a time of renewal. The village moves from survival toward flourishing. The peasants begin to see the fruits of their labor. The transition from winter's desperate work to spring's nurturing care marks a pivotal point. Though the harvest remains distant, the growth of crops brings pride and satisfaction. This sense of accomplishment is tangible. In conversations about the land, in the pride they take in their work, it is quietly but deeply felt. Those who have survived harsh winters now stand in the warmth of spring, surrounded by the first signs of abundance. Their endurance is beginning to yield rewards. Yet, even as the season shifts, work continues. Spring brings promise but also risks. Early crops are fragile, weather can turn unexpectedly. A late frost or sudden storm could undo weeks of effort. Tending the land is never-ending, and vigilance is constant. But this vigilance is tempered by the knowledge that they are not alone. Their community, their shared labor and collective hopes offer strength. Together, they can endure whatever challenges arise. Families gather to share meals outside, sunlight casting a golden glow. There is quiet joy in the air, a celebration of past work and anticipation of what is to come. The hearth fire burns softly, a steady reminder of winter's warmth, while the land becomes the focus. Hope for the harvest fills the village. Having survived the hardest season, they continue to labor with patience and care, knowing that the earth will provide if treated well. Though small, the village embodies quiet resilience. The seasons continue their turn, each bringing challenges and rewards. The peasants understand that survival is never guaranteed, but through patience, skill, and unity, they endure. They understand not only the demands of survival but also the importance of hope, community, and living in harmony with the land. They have learned that endurance is not about rushing through life but about moving forward steadily, day by day, season by season. As the sun lowers in the sky and the fire crackles softly in the hearth, you sense that this rhythm of work, rest, survival, and growth will continue as it always has. The fire may no longer blaze fiercely, but the warmth and spirit of resilience remain. The peasants know that whatever the seasons bring, they will face them together with steady hands, patient hearts, and the enduring hope that the land will provide. As evening approaches, casting long shadows over the village, life slows into a gentler rhythm. The intensity of spring work eases into a steady pace, and the peasants begin to enjoy the fruits of their labor. Fields promise abundance, and crops grow stronger with each passing day. The long days are no longer defined by the struggle to prepare for winter but by the fulfillment that comes from tending the earth, knowing their efforts today will yield rewards in the months ahead. The air hums with the sounds of summer, the buzz of insects, the rustle of leaves, the calls of nesting birds. These sounds form a lively backdrop to the peasants' steady work. Though the labor continues, the heat of the day slows the pace, aligning it with nature's rhythms. There is no rush. The crops are planted, the animals cared for, and now the work focuses on maintaining what has been set in motion. It is a measured, vital rhythm, one shaped not by survival alone but by a deeper connection to the land. The hearth still glows, though it has shifted from lifeline to comfort. Daytime warmth reduces its necessity, yet as evenings cool, the fire flickers to life again, a quiet reminder of safety, warmth, and shared community. Watching the peasants, one is struck by how naturally they adapt to the changing seasons. The harsh months of winter and early spring, dominated by survival, have given way to labor that is both physical and life-affirming. Each day spent planting, tending crops, or caring for animals is a day in harmony with the world around them. Challenges remain: storms, pests, uncertain weather, but the peasants face them with quiet confidence. Having survived the harshest cold, they now await the earth's reward in summer bounty. Evening meals are simple, marking the first harvests of early crops, new potatoes, tender greens, or peas. The modest meal reminds them that the spring's hard work has paid off. Around the fire, families gather, sharing stories, laughter, and the satisfaction of being part of a larger cycle. The fire provides more than physical warmth. It is a space for connection, supporting the community as they move into the next phase of the year. The village, small and humble, now exists in full accord with the land. Homes made from wood, straw, and mud blend naturally into the landscape. Thatch roofs, reinforced through winter trials, are ready for summer rains. These homes quietly symbolize the resilience that allowed survival through harsh seasons. Shaped by the land, they in turn shape the lives of those within. Yet beneath this beauty lies an awareness of fragility. Sudden frost could damage early crops, storms might harm roofs, or disease could strike animals. Still, there is no panic, only acceptance. The peasants know that life's cycles are constant. After every winter comes spring, after every storm comes sunshine, and after hardships come rest. They move in step with this rhythm, steady and unbroken. Historians note that such cycles provided medieval peasants with stability. Though life was difficult, it carried predictability. Each season brought tasks and rewards, and while uncertainty persisted, repetition offered comfort. This understanding sustained them through the harshest times. Observing the peasants, it becomes clear their strength lies not only in endurance but in living with the land, working alongside the seasons and accepting life's rhythm. There is no frantic struggle against the inevitable. They adapt, wait, and act to be ready for the next season. The fire burns as a symbol, the sun lingers into evening, and the peasants, having weathered winter and embraced spring, await summer. For now, they savor warmth, abundance, and the quiet satisfaction of survival, carrying a deep gratitude for the land that sustains them and the community that supports them. Summer days stretch lazily under the warm sun. The earth, now in full bloom, teems with life. The peasants, having planted the seeds of their future in spring, now witness their labor beginning to bear fruit. The crops grow tall, promising the rewards of patient effort and harmony with the land. The animals graze freely across the lush fields, and the village hums with the quiet energy of summer. The fire in the hearth, though still maintained in the evenings, now serves a different purpose. Its warmth is no longer a necessity but a gentle comfort, offering presence during the cooler nights. You observe the peasants as they move between fields, barnyards, and homes, each step deliberate and measured. They are in tune with the rhythm of the land, accustomed to the pace that the seasons dictate. The work is always there, but it has shifted from survival to cultivation. There is no longer a frantic rush to prepare for winter. Instead, the labor is steady and purposeful, tending, waiting, and guiding the earth's bounty to its fullest. The peasants do not hurry. They observe, nurture, and care for what they have sown. Their movements are efficient and intentional, born of years, sometimes lifetimes, of experience in sowing, tending, and harvesting. This work is as natural to them as breathing. They have learned to work with the land, not against it. The soil that once demanded struggle in the cold now yields willingly, like a familiar friend. The village itself transforms in the summer light. Homes, once closed against winter's cold, now open to the sun. Thatched roofs, covered in moss and clay, withstand summer warmth and rains. Peasants who once gathered around the hearth for warmth and stories in winter now convene in the fields, ensuring the harvest succeeds. The sounds of labor fill the air, the rhythmic pounding of hoes, the gentle lowing of cattle, the soft murmur of voices carried by the wind. It is the sound of life in motion, a community thriving. Even in summer, the fire maintains its importance. Though no longer central to survival, it remains a gathering place. Food is cooked over it, warmth is drawn from it during cooler hours, and families come together after a long day's work. The fire's rhythm is steady, a constant amid the shifting world. Yet its role has evolved, from life-sustaining necessity to a space for connection and reflection. The harshness of winter has passed. In the soft warmth of summer, the peasants gather around the fire by tradition, not need. They share meals, tell stories, and celebrate small victories with the ease that comes from having endured the toughest months. The fire becomes a symbol of resilience, a quiet reminder that they have overcome. Summer feels like a reward. It is a time to enjoy the fruits of labor, to anticipate the harvest, and to savor abundance. Survival work continues, but it is now about growth, care, and enjoyment rather than guarding against hunger and cold. This is the season to prepare for future harvests and enjoy the present. Still, there is awareness of the cycle. The peasants know survival is ongoing. Success does not breed complacency. Each season is part of a larger journey. The work done today ensures the harvest tomorrow. And when winter returns, they will be ready once more. The cycle is unbroken, steady, and relentless. The land itself seems to celebrate summer. Trees, once barren, are heavy with leaves and fruit. Fields are green, the air rich with the scent of growth and promise. The peasants are part of this land, and it is part of them. Summer is a quiet exchange. The earth gives, but it also demands. Even in summer's fullness, dangers remain. Storms or droughts can undo months of effort. Yet the peasants continue, aware of risks but undeterred. They adapt, bend, and endure, their resilience forged in harsher seasons carrying them through the joys and work of summer. As the sun sets on a warm evening, the fire crackles softly, reflecting the day's peace. The village settles into night, nature's rhythms blending with the hearth's quiet comfort. Tired from labor, the peasants rest with quiet pride, knowing the cycle will begin anew tomorrow. Seasons continue, each with its challenges and rewards. Fires burn, crops grow, animals thrive, and the village moves steadily. Life is a cycle, a continuous dance with the land. With every season, the peasants grow stronger, more connected, and resilient. Their strength lies in the hearth, in the fields, and in shared moments. In summer's warmth, they know they have survived winter and are ready for what comes next. As midsummer progresses, the village remains active, though its rhythm has shifted. Fields, once tender with new growth, now promise a bountiful harvest. The peasants, no longer rushing to plant, still work from dawn to dusk, removing weeds, guarding against pests, and ensuring crops reach maturity. Their movements are purposeful, aligned with the sun and the land's rhythm. The work remains essential, but satisfaction accompanies it. Spring's labor and winter's uncertainty feel distant. Summer brings ease. The peasants continue working, yet the urgency has softened. Survival pressure has eased, replaced by the quiet contentment of thriving under the sun. Instead of focusing on survival, their energy is now directed toward ensuring that what has been planted continues to grow strong and healthy. The fire, still flickering in the hearth during cooler evenings, now feels like a memory of winter. The warmth of the day has largely removed the need for its constant presence. The sun's heat envelopes everything from the furrows of the soil to the edges of the village. Once vital for survival in the harshest months, the fire has become a place for reflection and quiet gathering. At night, it draws the family together, offering comfort, not out of necessity, but out of tradition. As the sun sets and the day's warmth fades, the peasants gather around the fire. There is no rush, no worry. The crops are tended, the animals fed, and the day's work completed. Now the fire serves as a space for conversation, sharing meals, and quiet moments of togetherness. The long summer days have softened life's pace, allowing the village to settle into a slower rhythm, in tune with the warmth surrounding it. The sounds of life have changed as well. The buzz of insects fills the air, and children's laughter echoes through the fields as they play freely, helping with small tasks and learning the ways of the land. Adults remain busy, but there is no longer a sense of desperation. Long days allow time for both work and rest. The fire in the evening becomes a symbol of reflection, a space for the community to gather. As the day's labor ends, villagers sit together, enjoying warmth and company. The firelight dances across their faces, casting a soft glow as stories and knowledge are passed from one generation to the next. It is more than warmth. It is a reminder of their shared history and resilience, of what they have endured and accomplished together. Summer's rhythm is not just about fieldwork. It is about the satisfaction of seeing the earth thrive. Fragile seedlings have grown into strong, hardy crops reaching skyward, while animals graze lazily in the sun. There is pride in knowing that hard work has borne fruit, and now they can patiently await the harvest. Historians note the resilience of medieval peasants, not only in surviving winter but in enduring the relentless cycle of seasonal labor. Life was about adapting to the land, understanding its rhythm, and growing stronger with each season. Watching them work inspires admiration. Their strength lies not only in enduring hardship but in living harmoniously with nature. They understand the cycles of the land, shaping their lives around its demands. The fire, once vital for survival, now quietly recalls the endurance that carried them through winter. It offers warmth when needed but does not disrupt the calm that summer brings. The cycle of life continues. Peasants tend the fields, care for crops, and prepare for the harvest. Yet for now, they can rest, enjoying the calm, joy, and warmth of summer. They know work will resume, seasons will change, but for the moment, they are content. They have survived, thrived, and are ready for what comes next. As the fire crackles softly, the village embraces the summer evening. Life flows slowly and steadily. Connected to the land, the villagers continue to endure, thrive, and survive season after season. With summer deepening, the village embodies quiet diligence. Crops grow strong, fields promise abundance, and the air carries the earthy scent of soil and ripening fruit. Peasants move with practiced ease, no hurry, no urgent pressure. They have endured winter and spring's toil, and now there is satisfaction in the fruits of their labor. The fire, still present in the evenings, is no longer a symbol of survival but a reminder of past endurance. It offers comfort, not necessity. The long days are filled with the sounds of insects, birds, and rustling leaves. Firelight in the evening reflects the villagers' strength and marks the start of a new season, one where harvest awaits. Life in the village seems to slow, matching summer's easy pace. Peasants continue tending crops and animals, but without the urgency of earlier seasons. Their work carries a meditative quality, watering, repairing fences, gathering early ripening fruits, all reflecting the promise of what is to come. Days flow seamlessly, blending labor and rest, work and reward. The village itself has transformed. Winter has passed, spring's effort has been rewarded, and summer now brings peace and quiet joy. The peasants are no longer confined to their homes, nor are they laboring from dawn until dusk, preparing for the harshness of winter. Their work now focuses less on mere survival and more on cultivating both the land and themselves. Children who once spent long, cold months huddled by the fire now run freely outdoors, faces flushed with joy, exploring the world without the weight of winter pressing down. They have learned not only to work but also to celebrate, to engage fully with the life around them. The adults, too, move with a new ease. The early months of the year brought tension and worry, concern for warmth, for food, for surviving the long, harsh winter. But that tension has transformed. It remains a quiet vigilance, yet now it is a vigilance of hope. Crops are growing, animals are thriving, and though the harvest is still some weeks away, it feels almost within reach. There is a shift in the air, a sense of anticipation mixed with the calm of summer. The peasants do not rush. They understand that everything has its time. They have worked hard to reach this point, and now they work in harmony with the land, not against it. They wait patiently, confident that their efforts will soon bear fruit. The fire, though no longer central to survival, still plays an important role. It is a place for gathering, for reflection, and for moments of quiet togetherness at the end of each day. Long evenings are spent sharing stories around the hearth, with meals prepared and enjoyed in the warm glow of the firelight. These moments are simple, yet meaningful. The hearth has become a symbol of the village's enduring connection, a space where the day's work is acknowledged and the season's weight is quietly felt. Historians often note the importance of communal spaces like the hearth in medieval life. It was more than a source of warmth or a cooking area, it was a place for connection, for stories, for life to unfold. Even in the heat of summer, the fire remains central. Villagers gather around it after their workday, finding comfort in its flickering warmth and the shared presence of family and community. Here, they find peace after the intensity of the seasons. The fire is more than a tool, it is a bridge between past and present, a constant in a world of changing rhythms. As the village settles into the steady flow of summer, the harshness of winter feels distant, replaced by abundance. Fields are full of crops, barns full of animals, homes full of life. The peasants have worked hard to reach this point, and now they enjoy the peace of their efforts. The fire still burns in the hearth, but now as comfort, a connection to the past and a reminder of the seasons that have passed. Observing the villagers, one cannot help but feel respect for their way of life. They endured winter's cold, the labor of planting, and seasonal uncertainty. Yet they have thrived, learning to work with the land, respecting its rhythms, and living in harmony with it. Fire, hearth, and fields are all part of this cycle, part of life's rhythm. As the sun sets on another summer day, it becomes clear that the peasants' greatest strength lies in their ability to live with the seasons, accepting life's ebb and flow with patience and hope. Summer deepens, and the village becomes further attuned to its familiar rhythm. Days stretch long and warm, filled with the steady work of tending crops, caring for animals, and completing daily tasks. Work remains, but urgency has faded. Peasants move with purpose, but their pace is slower, aligned with the sun lingering high in the sky. The heat, once oppressive, now feels comforting, a sign of life rather than struggle. There is a gentle, steady contentment in the air. The evening fire takes on a new character. It no longer fights against cold. It is a companion in the night, a steady flicker of light in quiet moments. As the last rays of sun fade, the hearth comes alive. The fire casts warm shadows across the room. Villagers, having spent the day in the fields or tending animals, gather together. It is a time for family, for rest, for quiet reflection. The rhythm of work and rest has become natural, a balance of effort and relaxation. Meals are simple, yet satisfying. Summer's abundance brings ease to the table. Fresh vegetables, early fruits, and produce from the animals are shared freely. The joy in these moments comes not from the meal's richness, but from the labor that made it possible. The fire crackles in the hearth, spreading warmth and comfort, a reward for the work that preceded it. Subtle changes in the villagers' demeanor are evident. The hard work of planting and preparing for winter is behind them. They have endured the hardest seasons. Now, in summer's quiet, they can enjoy the fruits of their labor. Faces are relaxed, expressions softened, reflecting a newfound ability to pause and appreciate the peace of the season. They sit together, sharing stories, laughing, and cherishing simple pleasures. The fire remains a constant. Its soft crackle, occasional pop, and warmth signal the end of the day and the start of rest. Though no longer essential for survival, it remains a central element of life, where families gather, stories are told, and connections to past and future are felt. It acknowledges the day's work, while temporarily lifting the burden of the seasons. The village, too, mirrors this rhythm. Homes once tightly closed against winter are now open, windows wide to welcome sun and warmth. The air is alive with children playing and animals grazing peacefully, a living testament to the harmony between people, land, and season. The village hums with a quiet energy, a sense of purpose that fills every corner. Once still and subdued, it now thrives with life. Villagers move through their daily routines with a steady rhythm, aware that they are part of something larger, a cycle both relentless and beautiful. The peasants, while still working hard, now feel the satisfaction of a job well done. Crops flourish, animals are healthy, and the promise of harvest hangs in the air. Yet there's no rush. They labor thoughtfully, steadily, with a calm confidence that the worst hardships are behind them. The fire no longer symbolizes mere survival. It represents community, shared warmth, and the connection formed through collective struggle. The land, demanding as ever, has become a partner in daily life. The act of surviving has evolved into the act of thriving, approached with quiet determination. Evenings bring moments of simple joy. Children's laughter echoes across the fields as they chase one another, faces bright with freedom. Adults, their day's work complete, share stories and meals. The warmth of the fire, the soft glow of the hearth, turns these spaces into a kind of sacred pause where time seems to slow and life falls into balance. The hardships of winter feel distant, past anxieties fading. For now, there is peace. The fire illuminates not just the night but the beauty of this quiet, orderly life. It reminds the villagers that life is cyclical, winter, spring, summer, and fall all part of the same journey. They have witnessed these cycles year after year, learning their rhythms. The fire, once vital in the darkest months, now quietly symbolizes continuity, connection, and the passage of time. Sitting by it, one realizes that survival was never solitary. It is communal, a shared effort and responsibility, strengthened by patience, cooperation, and the celebration of peaceful moments. The fire's warmth, the hearth's glow, the shared laughter, all testify to the resilience of the community and their bond with the land. As summer yields to the first signs of autumn, the village atmosphere shifts. Fields that were vibrant green now hint at ripening crops, heavy with promise. The peasants, after months of tireless labor, begin to reap the rewards of their work. Though the harvest is not yet complete, anticipation fills the air. The hearth, which carried them through harsh winters and warm summers, now bridges two seasons. Days shorten, evenings grow cooler, and the fire's comfort shifts from protection against cold to a gentle respite from the crisp air. Around it, the villagers collectively exhale, their efforts nearly culminating. Planting, tending, and nurturing the fields has brought them to the threshold of harvest. Camaraderie now defines the village. Work is no longer solitary, it is shared. Relationships stretched by winter have been restored through long summer days of cooperative labor. Each person contributes, ensuring the harvest succeeds. This silent bond holds the village together, symbolized by the flickering fire, a space where daily labor is recognized, fieldwork celebrated, and the first harvest shared. The fire burns low, its warmth enduring, yet it no longer commands the vigilance it once did. Villagers gather, faces illuminated by its glow, sharing simple meals crafted from newly harvested crops. These quiet moments embody contentment, a reflection of their connection to both land and community. The fire, like the seasons, stands as a constant reminder of time's flow. It witnesses their labor, efforts, and shared hopes for the future. With the approaching harvest, there is an awareness that work is not finished. Much remains to be gathered and stored for winter. Yet a peaceful understanding prevails. The cycle is nearing completion. Crops have grown, land has been tended, and now it is time to reap what has been sown. The hearth's steady flicker mirrors life's rhythm, symbolizing stability and continuity. Regardless of season, the work continues, and the community endures. Historians often note the profound bond between medieval peasants and the land. Their connection went beyond necessity, it defined their existence. Survival depended on understanding nature's cycles and adapting to its challenges. Through bitter winters and warm summers, they learned to live with the land, navigating its rhythms and thriving within its patterns. The fire, in many ways, represents the deep connection the peasants have with their world, a living, breathing presence that sustains them through the harshest winters and provides comfort in milder seasons. As the first fruits of the harvest start filling the tables, the village shares a quiet celebration. The fire is tended, the meal is shared, and the community gathers to recognize the hard work that has brought them here. The harvest is not yet complete, but the initial bounty reminds them of the journey they've undertaken together. It is a time for rest, reflection, and appreciation, knowing that the full rewards of their labor are still ahead. As the sun sets, the hearth's fire continues to glow, a reminder of past efforts and a beacon for the future. Peasants gather around it, sharing warmth, food, and the quiet satisfaction of achieving what they set out to do. The harvest promises another season, and the fire burns steady, a constant presence amid the changing world. With the first chill of autumn creeping in, the air changes noticeably. The village, once bustling with summer's energy, now moves at a calmer pace. The harvest nears completion, bringing a sense of satisfaction. Months of planting, tending, and nurturing the land are finally bearing fruit. Crops are ripe, barns are filling, and while days remain long, evenings grow shorter, shadows stretching as the sun sets earlier. The village begins turning inward, preparing for winter. The hearth fire becomes essential, not just comforting. The crisp air makes its warmth welcome. As peasants gather around, there's relief and reflection. Summer, though full of labor, was also abundant. The partial harvest eases fears of the cold months ahead. The fire crackles, spreading comfort after long days in the fields. The peasants' quiet joy is visible. They know the hardest work is done, the barn holds the fruits of their labor, and preparations for winter have begun. The fire represents both survival and accomplishment. Families gather around the hearth, sharing simple meals drawn from the harvest. There is no extravagance, only what is needed: fresh vegetables, bread from summer grain, perhaps some preserved meat. They eat quietly, savoring their work's fruits. It is not a feast, but it carries the weight of their efforts. The fire continues to crackle, filling the room with warmth as the family finishes their meal. Calmness settles in. Despite challenges ahead, they have what they need. As the season changes, they can face winter knowing they have prepared as best they can. The fire remains constant, a reminder of all they have endured and achieved. It is more than heat or light. It is a space for connection, reflection, and hope. Around it, the family shares stories, struggles, and triumphs. It honors the day's labor and anticipates the work ahead with quiet resolve. The fire mirrors their lives, burning steadily even when the world outside is cold. It provides warmth, light, and continuity in a changing world. Though the harvest may be over, survival work continues. Peasants store food, repair homes, and ensure they have enough for winter. The hearth, still the heart of the home, comforts during long nights, a steady reminder of past strength. Historians note that agricultural cycles shaped medieval peasants' lives. The land was both provider and taskmaster. Their survival depended on working with the land, understanding its rhythms, and adapting to its changes. In this, they were deeply connected to the world around them. The fire symbolizes this connection, to the land, to each other, and to the seasons that govern life. Sitting with peasants around the hearth, one sees their strength lies not just in enduring hardships, but in living in harmony with the world. They are not merely surviving, they are thriving, adapting. The fire, once a survival symbol, now represents continuity. No matter how cold winter may be, warmth exists in the hearth, the home, and the shared strength of the community. The family draws close, faces glowing, the night sounds distant. There is peace, a quiet contentment from simply being together. The fire burns low, the village rests despite winter preparations. The seasonal rhythm continues, as does the quiet strength of the peasants, ready to endure whatever comes. With autumn's crisp air comes the first real hints of winter. Days, once long and sun-filled, shorten, and summer's gentle warmth fades into memory. The harvest, though largely gathered, is not yet fully complete, and work in the fields continues at a slower, more deliberate pace. The peasants, having witnessed the bounty of the land, now prepare for what lies ahead, both the closing of the harvest and the arrival of winter. This is a time of transition and preparation, but also of quiet reflection on what has been accomplished. The fire in the hearth grows increasingly important. While the warmth of the late summer sun still lingers during early afternoons, it fades quickly as evenings arrive. By the hearth, the peasants feel its comforting heat spread through their bodies after a long day of labor. The crackling fire provides both light and warmth, creating a peaceful sanctuary from the encroaching cold. This same fire has endured through past winters, and now it serves as a symbol of preparation, readying them for the months of cold and the challenges winter may bring. The peasants approach the final harvest with careful focus. Their work is slower, methodical, no longer rushed by the urgency of planting or growing crops. Now it is about gathering what remains and storing it properly to last through winter. They pull vegetables from the garden, store grains in the barn, and prepare the animals for the coming months. The work remains important but is performed with measured, reflective intent. The fire continues to burn steadily, casting a soft glow over the family gathered around it. In quiet comfort, they recognize that the hardest part of the year is ending. The labor of the past month is behind them, and they can look ahead to winter. The fire offers solace, a place of warmth, reflection, and emotional comfort, reminding them of the resilience that has carried them through harsh seasons. The family shares a simple meal, a hearty stew made from the harvest, served with freshly baked bread. It is not a lavish feast, but it is satisfying, rich with the flavors of the land. Each bite is savored, each moment by the fire appreciated. The meal quietly honors the hard work that has brought them to this point. Observing the peasants, one sees how the fire has become a symbol of the seasons. It has sustained them through harsh winters and illuminated their work during long, dark nights. It is a constant companion, offering comfort, stability, and continuity. Now, in the calm of autumn, as they prepare for winter, the fire continues to burn, a reminder of what they have endured and what they will continue to face. Historians often note the strength of medieval peasants, not only in enduring hardship but in adapting to the rhythms of the land and seasons. Survival is not merely about facing cold winters or hot summers. It is about living with the land, understanding its cycles, and finding balance. The fire, while practical, also represents this deep connection to the earth, the seasons, and one another. As night deepens and the fire burns lower, the family settles into a quiet rhythm. The harvest is nearly complete, the long winter approaches, and the fire remains a constant presence. It is a space for rest, reflection, and connection. Its warmth is more than physical. It is a steady force that has carried them through past seasons and will continue to do so. The work of survival never truly ends. There will always be challenges, labor, and seasonal tasks. But for now, as the fire crackles, the peasants rest. The harvest is nearly in, preparations for winter are nearly finished, and the quiet peace of autumn settles over the village. The fire's glow reminds them of their accomplishments and the ongoing cycles of life. With the first frost, the world outside begins to change. Green fields are now covered in white, trees stand bare, and the sun dips lower, casting long shadows. Days shorten, nights grow colder, yet inside homes the fire burns brightly. Its crackling flames provide comfort, marking the transition from autumn abundance to winter's harsh reality. The fire offers warmth, light, and community, bringing families together in the dark evenings. Peasants, who have spent months preparing, now follow the rhythm of winter. Work continues, tending animals, replenishing firewood, rationing food, but a sense of relief fills the air. They have endured the hardest part of the year. The harvest is complete, barns are full, and the fire, while essential, also provides rest, reflection, and connection. The village now moves at a quieter, more deliberate pace. The busy days of the growing season are behind them, and for the next months, the peasants focus on maintaining all that they have prepared. The fire continues to burn, a steady reminder of their perseverance and the cycles of life that carry them forward. The rhythm of life, though still defined by labor, now moves at a slower, more reflective pace. The peasants go about their work with calm efficiency, tending to their animals, checking their stores, and ensuring everything is in order for the coming months. Work hasn't stopped, it has simply changed. Winter is a time of preparation and preservation, a period to settle into quiet, introspective routines. The hearth, always central in a peasant home, takes on a new significance. It is no longer just a source of warmth. It becomes a gathering place, a source of light and life during the darkest months. Families come together each evening around the fire, sharing stories, meals, and the simple joy of being together. There's a deep sense of peace in these moments, a quiet comfort in knowing they have endured the hardships of the past year. The fire's steady warmth envelopes them, providing both physical and emotional comfort. Though harsh, the winter months carry their own rewards. The stillness of snow-covered fields, the long nights, and the quiet of the season bring a unique tranquility. The fire, more vital than ever, offers solace through these cold nights. It stands as a symbol of continuity and resilience, a constant presence in a world shaped by seasons. The peasants understand that the cold will last for months, but the fire's warmth will carry them through, just as it did for generations before. Watching the peasants gathered around the flames, their faces lit softly by its glow, one can sense a quiet satisfaction, a contentment born from the labor of the year. The harvest is complete, the animals settled, and now there is time to rest. The evening meal is simple: stews, bread, and perhaps a bit of preserved meat. There is no luxury, but a measured abundance that feels enough. The food, a product of their hard work, nourishes not only their bodies but also their spirits. The fire grows to symbolize more than warmth. It reflects the cycle of life, the unbroken rhythm of the seasons, the endurance of the peasants, and the reward of their labor. As it burns through long winter nights, it reminds them that survival is an ongoing effort, a steady commitment to the land and the cycles that govern it. The hearth is both a source of comfort and a symbol of resilience, a constant companion through harsh winters. Historians often note how the cyclical nature of life shaped medieval peasant communities. Seasons, with all their challenges and rewards, dictated the rhythm of existence. Survival was never certain, but the hearth, the fire, and the land offered practical necessities and emotional anchors, keeping families and communities together. Peasants understood that endurance was about more than physical strength. It was about community. Gathering around the fire allowed them to share work, celebrate achievements, and maintain bonds. As winter deepens, work continues, but there is also time to rest, to reflect, and to gather. The fire, no longer the center of labor, remains the center of social life. It is where stories are told, lessons passed down, and the ties of family and community strengthened. The hearth is a place where survival is acknowledged and celebrated, where peasants find warmth, comfort, and the strength to face what lies ahead. As the fire burns steadily, the village settles into the quiet of winter. They know the year's work is done and are ready for the months ahead. Seasons will continue, cycles will turn, and the fire will remain, a steady, guiding presence through whatever challenges come. Winter nights grow colder, but life in the village follows a quiet rhythm. Snow blankets the fields, creating a vast white landscape untouched by summer's activity. The peasants, accustomed to the cold, feel winter's full weight. The hearth's warmth is a constant companion, a refuge during the still, harsh nights. Families huddle together, share stories, and seek comfort in its glow. The urgency of the harvest has faded, replaced by a slower, contemplative pace. Work persists, but it aligns with winter's rhythm, steady, focused on preservation. Animals are cared for, food rationed carefully, and homes maintained to endure the cold. There is no rush now, only mindful tasks that contribute to long-term survival. The hearth continues to burn steadily, mirroring the peasant's own persistence. Meals are simple but nourishing. They eat in silence, savoring warmth, sustenance, and companionship. No lavish feasts, just hearty stews, thick bread, and preserved meat, yet each meal carries a profound sense of satisfaction. Every bite reflects the effort spent preparing for winter, a reminder of the land's generosity and the labor invested. The fire crackles softly, its glow illuminating the room. Peace settles over the household, a calm born of knowing they have survived another year. The hearth provides not only warmth but connection, a beacon through long, dark nights. In its quiet glow, peasants find moments of rest, reflection, and stillness amid the continuous work of survival. In these moments, gathered around the warmth of the fire, the peasants reflect on the year gone by, the challenges they faced, the work they completed, and the rewards they earned. Outside, the wind lashes against the walls, the cold biting at every door and window. Inside, however, the fire burns steadily and brightly, creating a sharp contrast between the harsh world outside and the cozy safety within. They understand that the brutal winter will eventually give way to spring, but for now, they focus on the present, gathering strength for the months ahead. Having survived the hardest part of the year, they find comfort in knowing the cycle will continue. Spring will return, bringing renewal, growth, and hope. The fire, once a mere tool for survival, has become a symbol of endurance, a constant in a world shaped by the rhythms of the seasons. Medieval peasants, historians note, were remarkably resilient. They knew that winter, though harsh, was not a time for despair. It was a season of quiet strength, preparation, and endurance. Each season presented its own challenges, and survival depended on their ability to adapt and persist. The hearth fire, ever burning, represented this resilience, light in the darkness, warmth in the cold, a reminder that despite hardships, life continued. As the fire glows, peasants settle into its warmth. Outside, the wind may roar, but inside, they are secure. Winter's quiet stillness envelopes the village, and the peasants, practicing steady endurance, understand they are part of a larger cycle. The fire will burn through long nights, the seasons will shift, and life will follow its constant rhythm. For now, they rest, confident that future challenges will be faced together as they always have. The cold may rage outside, yet inside the home life moves at a calm, measured pace. The hearth crackles, providing physical warmth to counter the biting cold and emotional comfort in knowing survival has been achieved. Winter's rhythm, though demanding, is now predictable. Work is no longer frantic but focused on maintenance, tending animals, checking food stores, and preparing for spring. Days shorten, nights lengthen, yet a sense of calm fills the air. The year's labors are nearly complete, allowing the peasants to rest, assured they have done all they can. The hearth fire remains constant, more than just warmth. It is a gathering point, a source of light, a steady presence during the darkest season. Peasants sit in its glow, quietly reflecting on the past year and considering the one to come. The hard work of the growing season and winter preparations has passed. Now is a time for introspection, appreciation of the present, and readiness for the future. They know that cold will eventually give way to spring and that the cycle will repeat. But for now, they savor the quiet peace winter brings. The fire is the home's heart, a companion during long, cold nights. As wind howls outside, flames flicker across the room, offering warmth and guiding light. Around the hearth, peasants reflect on what they have endured. Though simple, the fire symbolizes all they have survived: harsh winters, demanding labor, and the passage of seasons. Meals are simple yet nourishing. Stews made from preserved meats and vegetables fill the air with rich aromas. Food is savored, warmed by the fire, and shared in comfort. There is no excess, only what is needed, a reflection of all they have worked for and endured. The hearth, meal, and family togetherness embody quiet contentment. Peasants now wait patiently, anticipating spring's first signs, longer days, the sun's return, and the work of the fields. They rest in the knowledge that their harvest is secure and they have enough to survive winter. The fire burns steady, a reminder that regardless of the cold and darkness outside, they are safe, warm, and together. Historians often highlight the profound bond medieval peasants had with their homes and land. Homes were not mere shelters. They were sanctuaries, spaces for family, tradition, and the rhythms of the seasons. The hearth was central, providing warmth, light, and a place for connection. Families gathered not just to eat, but to share stories, laughter, and the reassurance of having endured another year together. As the fire dims, casting a soft glow, there is a sense of calm. The peasants know the cold will give way to warmth, the seasons will cycle, and they will once again tend the land, plant, and nurture growth. For now, they find comfort in the present moment. The fire, though slowly dying down, continues to burn, a symbol of their resilience, endurance, and the quiet strength that has carried them through the harshest winters. The hearth, the flames, the warmth, these remain constant, reminders of what they have achieved, endured, and what still lies ahead. As the fire dwindles, the peasants settle in for another night, aware they are not alone, that they have each other, and that no matter how long the winter lasts, the fire's warmth will see them through. Outside, the wind howls, its icy fingers pressing against the walls. Inside, the fires burn steadily. Long winter nights stretch on, each one quiet, reflective, and similar to the last. The peasants continue their work, slowed by the chill. Their focus is now on preserving what they have stored, ensuring there is enough food, fuel, and warmth to last until spring. There is no frantic rush, only a patient tending, waiting for the inevitable return of sunnier days. The fire now serves as more than warmth and light. It is a beacon in the darkness. Families gather around it, huddled together in the stillness of winter. Its flickering glow casts shadows on the stone and mud walls, bringing a sense of calm, a reminder that the worst of the season is behind them. The fire is a symbol of endurance, showing that no matter how cold the night, there is always light and warmth within the home. Meals shared around the hearth are simple, a stew from preserved vegetables, dried meats, and grains. There is no luxury, but the food nourishes not through abundance, but through the labor that made it possible. Each bite recalls months of planting, tending, harvesting, and storing. The peasants eat slowly, enjoying the warmth of the meal, the comfort of the fire, and the presence of family. In winter, life moves more deliberately, more slowly. The hearth remains the center of the home. Its steady flame is a source of strength, not just physical warmth, but connection. Each night, peasants gather to share stories, exchange news, and reflect on the past year. They speak of the seasons that have passed, the challenges overcome, and the small triumphs celebrated. Here, survival is not a solitary act but a communal effort. The fire draws them closer, warming both body and spirit, turning even the darkest nights into moments of shared comfort. Outside, snow blankets the land in silence. Fields are hidden beneath thick white layers, trees stand bare, and the village seems small against the vast winter landscape. Homes cluster together for warmth, surrounded by quiet stillness. Yet inside, the fire continues to burn, a reminder that life persists even in the coldest months. The peasants may have retreated from the land, but not from each other. The fire is the heart of the home, and the home is the heart of the village. Historians note that medieval peasants relied equally on the land and on each other to survive. Seasonal cycles dictated their planting, harvesting, and resting, but community sustained them through the long, dark months. Winter, harsh as it was, brought people together. The hearth became a symbol of unity as well as survival, where families shared food, warmth, stories, and a sense of belonging. Sitting with the peasants by the fire, one senses the quiet strength it embodies, a strength born from generations of living with the land, working together, and meeting each season with patience and resilience. The fire is a constant presence amid the cold, a beacon of warmth and light representing all they have endured and will continue to endure. As the fire burns low and night stretches on, a quiet contentment fills the air. The hardest part of winter may still lie ahead, but the peasants know they have prepared as best they can. They are ready for what comes, trusting that the warmth of the fire, the strength of their community, and the rhythm of the seasons will carry them through. The fire flickers, yet it burns steadily, a symbol of endurance and hope. Night envelopes the village, but inside, the peasants remain warm. The hearth continues its steady glow, guiding them through the long night, and will continue to do so through the coming seasons. The fire will always burn, and as long as it does, so too will the peasants endure. Winter's quiet blankets the village. Snow thickens, covering rooftops, hiding familiar sights under a white veil. The world outside may be harsh, but inside, the fire's warmth endures, a reminder that no matter the season or hardship, there is always a place for rest, warmth, and connection. The hearth offers steady comfort, bringing light and life to homes during long nights. Within the homes, peasants gather around the hearth, their faces glowing in the firelight. The work of previous months is complete, and now, in winter's quiet, they can rest. The pace of survival has slowed, replaced with deliberate, careful effort. There remains work, wood to gather, animals to tend, food to preserve, but the frantic urgency of the past year has given way to peaceful focus. The fire continues to crackle, its warmth filling the room, a quiet reminder of the collective relief, strength, and endurance that define this season. The fire has grown beyond mere necessity. It now stands as a symbol of resilience, endurance, and the quiet strength it provides through the harshest months. As the family gathers around it, sharing stories and reflecting on the year gone by, they draw comfort not only from its warmth but from the connection it fosters. The fire offers a space for togetherness, for bonding, and for shared solace. Winter is often seen as a season of solitude, a time for inward reflection and preparation. Yet, in the glow of the fire, the peasants recognize it as a moment for community, a time to care for one another, to strengthen relationships that will sustain them through the months ahead. Even as the flames flicker low into the night, the fire remains a steady presence, a reminder that the most difficult challenges have been faced and overcome. Around the hearth, conversations shift. They move away from the hardships of the harvest or the unpredictability of the weather. Instead, they dwell on life's simple pleasures, quiet moments of peace, and the hope for spring. Memories of past seasons surface, and there is no rush, no urgency, just calm reflection, a sense of fulfillment that comes from having endured and survived. Historians often highlight that the resilience of medieval peasants extended beyond physical strength. It lay in their ability to adapt, to find harmony with the land, to accept the rhythm of the seasons, and to discover quiet strength in everyday moments. The fire embodies that resilience. It is the heart of the home, a place where survival is both recognized and celebrated, where rest and renewal are found, and where family and community come together. As the flames continue to burn, the village settles into the quiet of winter. Outside, winds may howl and cold may seep through, but within, warmth remains. The peasants understand they are part of a larger cycle. The seasons will turn, challenges will come and go, yet they will endure. The fire, even when dim, continues as a steady beacon, guiding them through long winter nights toward the promise of spring. As night deepens, the hearth crackles, surrounding the peasants with its light and warmth. The hardest trials may be behind them, but survival is ongoing. The fire stands as a symbol of all they have endured and all they will continue to overcome. In its steady glow, they find reassurance. They are not alone, life continues, and the warmth of the hearth will see them through every season. As the fire's glow fades, winter's quiet fills the home, bringing with it the simple joy of rest. Spring will bring new work, new challenges, and new growth, but for tonight, there is peace. In that peace lies strength. The fire may die down, but its warmth remains, constant and enduring. Sweet dreams.